usually,
Yeah, it's like.
right, because I checked it yesterday, and oh, what if she wrote, and they didn't answer, you know? And I went in today.
Right.
So I wonder if Lucas forgot. We all know I can keep the dates straight.
You're on social media, no way to forget about this one.
Well, I'm not on social media. I dropped out before I was the board.
Did you?
Yeah, they part of it. I'm not gonna concentrate myself on. Because nobody will do it anyway, and I'm not going to, it's not gonna play the games.
Is it clear? I don't have to worry about it. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll go over this in a little bit. I'm just handing it out now.
Oh.
That's really good.
Yeah, was the corner angle or? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely need new batteries now.
Okay, Jason, do we have any batteries?
There. The whole building. That I just never. Oh, let's see how it here. Batteries.
Everybody out?
Yeah, mine looks.
I should sit over there without like not being able to see your face during the meeting.
You know, you start.
Perfect. He needs them too. Testing.
Yeah,
Good.
she didn't put it in that one.
Good, Michael?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I said that to the last meeting. Yes. You know what's going on? I don't wanna
The
go.
only thing is, Angel, I don't even want to know that big stuff because it's on the calendar.
Testing.
Yeah. I think I dreamed it. Because I was in hospital,
Yeah.
crazy dream. I think it's probably in the, and then I woke up and was like, I don't know where this is.
Testing. Testing.
Yeah, as soon as Teresa texted me back, I have that read to my knowledge, it was like, oh. Why did
When
I
you sent it,
I said it.
Picture he said it and like this, so yeah,
Yeah,
it was like.
by the way, if I get up and leave, because I start having a coffee fit, I'll just go on. I did, but I'm just still not better yet. Not contagious, so. That's pretty much. Yeah, totally.
Either way, just, they make it to the end of this, just go over. Jason's actual field report, not the field report, yeah, he puts a 1-page field report in there, like just items and stuff or whatever. reason.
Here you and Teresa are very colorful tonight. Yeah. Oh. That's beautiful.
First time we're.
Me, I have about 4 things that I.
You and I have a similar taste. We're probably spreading the same kind of tops. And they're nice. But
Either wear this or if I have to get a little more dressy, or pretty much t-shirts and shorts.
yeah, I have several copies of the same fabric and kind of. But most of them. But I'm gonna. Or I read. It's my first time ever going to sit out there, so I've been pretty fun for me. I kind of waited until I was too sick.
Right, can everyone hear us on the Zoom? Oh, can everyone hear us on the Zoom?
5:59.
Down.
Sarah, we looked at what
I actually contacted them today, but the people that I need to be in touch with are
Can someone?
not there. They're remote and
confirm
they
that
give
we're
you
on audio?
their email address, but it's not. You can't hear it. I sent it to what I thought I heard and no, it bounced. And
I can hear you, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
we actually pulled up on that.
their site, yeah. Yeah, and I've reached out to somebody supposedly knowledgeable, so.
Everyone, welcome to the April Harmony CDD meeting. We'd ask at first that everyone mute their phones so that we don't have interruptions this evening. We would greatly appreciate that. First thing on our agenda is a roll call. Supervisor Leet,
Here.
Supervisor Phillips,
Here.
Supervisor Castle,
Present.
Supervisor Chakanis is not present, and Supervisor Kramer is here. So we do have a quorum. Thank you all for attending. The next item on our agenda is audience comments. This is a time when anyone from the audience, either here in person or on the Zoom call, can come up and provide up to 3 minutes of input information that they want to present to the board. So this is not a back and forth, and we'll deal with the items when they come up on the agenda. The first person we have here is June Marszewitz. Did I do it right? If you'll come up, and we have a recording device here that we have to make sure that your comments get recorded, and then state your name and address for the record.
My name is June Marszewitz. I live at 7142 Indian Grass Road. And my first item, I have two different issues. So I get 3 minutes for each one, right?
If you need that much.
Okay, I may not. But the first one, I needed clarification on minutes from the March 30th meeting that I wasn't able to attend. I haven't been able to attend for a number of reasons, so. But the comment by Ms. Phillips regarding the Ashley Pool was okay, but that's a neighbor, I'm talking about the community maintenance facility. And having it located at Buck Lake.
No, I think, oh, okay. She was talking about it, the office being at Ashley Park Pool offices.
That, correct, that being there now, that's a temporary one, correct?
Right.
Right. And she said, that's okay. That's a neighborhood we're all going to have trucks coming in and out. And if there's a party, I do not know they're coming there to work. And if there's a birthday party going on with a bunch of kids screaming and stuff, I mean, it was going to be okay, but not ideal. Where the location over by the lakefront is, I think, kind of perfect. I'm not sure if Ms. Phillips understands the number of people and children that frequent the Buck Lake Park, the lakefront park. I'm really very upset because of the safety issue. Originally, I talked with Carol about the facility being there, and you mentioned that it was going to be something that would be behind bushes and it would be made aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if that's possible because of trucks coming in and out, the golf carts that they use coming in and out. I personally think it's a real safety issue for the number of children and the people, elderly people who walk their dogs And for the number of amenities that you're adding to the park, now they have the volleyball court, they have the ping pong table has been there, the table tennis, that's been there. There are always people playing basketball there. And I can attest to that because when I first moved to Harmony, I wanted to play basketball and I couldn't because somebody was always there.
Mhm.
And who wants to play with somebody my age? So I started playing pickleball instead. But anyway, I think it's a safety issue and not just an aesthetic issue. And I don't understand how this person who's on the board could say that that was an issue at Ashley Park, but this is not. And this is a perfect spot for it because it's not.
I'm sitting right here.
I didn't know you would.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
So this is not a back and forth.
Right,
That's right.
it's not a back and forth.
That's right.
Okay, you have a question also about a survey conducted 2 years
Right,
ago?
it was, I
Okay.
think more than 2 years ago.
That's the same issue.
Correct. Well, ideas were for that parcel BC 10. And the prevailing desire of the community was for it to remain a park-like setting, a tranquil area. Some people wanted it to have, they wanted to have a meditation garden. And this proposal to erect a maintenance facility with storage for trucks and golf carts, I think is in direct contrast to the community wishes.
Thank you so much for your.
So I hope you reconsider.
All right, any other public comments this evening? Anyone on Zoom there?
Anyone on the Zoom call, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can have 3 minutes. See anyone unmuted?
All right, thank you all. At this time, I'll close the public comment period. And move on to contractors reports. Benchmark, if you'd like to come up and state your full name. We had to hunt down your last
Watch your
name.
head.
My name is Nick Lomasny, and I'm a production manager with Benchmark Landscaping.
Wonderful, welcome to see.
Thank you.
Do you have any things you'd like to report for us? I got beautiful flowers up there today.
Yes, today the flowers were installed. Those irrigations were also double checked. In those particular zones, we added some water.
Choked right now.
Yeah, we also had True Green now. You've noticed that, it was 780,000 square feet we had treated.
Mm.
And the fire ant for the 10 acres we was also put up.
Okay. We're on again.
Woohoo.
The area adjacent to the soccer field, the kids were out Wednesday and they, fire ants are still, I don't know if you were able to get that section yet.
Well, what we're doing is as we see stuff like that, we're still spot treating.
Yeah.
We have bags with our maintenance teams. We see them and we'll address them, but I will drive out there Monday.
That soccer field
The-
area,
And the thing is that with the rain that we have had recently, the ants are moving.
they,
And they're getting pretty active.
Yeah, we'll keep it in the trucks.
You said you applied to phosphorus already,
Yes,
but the rain is gonna be really beneficial for that as well, you know, help break it down, establish the barrier.
yep, it was installed.
Proposals?
The first proposal is proposal 2023-184. Tree removal and installation at 7029 Buttonbush Loop.
Yep, I have that right here in the,
Yeah, it's proposed. Can you tell us what to take it? I didn't see what to take it.
it's a shrubbered oak and it'll be 30 gallon. And we'll put a 1/2 inch bubbler on it at the base of the trunk when it's installed. Go ahead.
I would like just a comparison with the other. I don't really understand the other proposal. It says this tree behind our house. But my question is that is there a tree replacement? It's only $470 for that, but it's $1,950 for this one.
Because this one is a removal and then replacement. I think this one's already,
I
right.
see.
Yeah, it's one of our larger trees right there on the corner of Buttonbush Loop.
So when we get into the removal, we have to have different equipment as well, whereas the other one is just an install. He's gonna come over there. That's why there's a price difference
I
between
see.
the two.
And the tree is failing significantly. I see.
It's,
I mean, it's dangerous. I was shocked because I've been there not, well, I guess it's been 4 or 5 months.
it's certainly a concern for us.
Then I saw this in, there's some dead trees over there, and so I came around the corner and boy, it is dead and scary. So any other comments or questions about 2023-184?
Well, are we replacing a similar tree?
It'll be similar, what happened originally when the development was in, they were supposed to put Schumacher oaks in, but they mistakenly placed pintail oaks in, which are very similar to Schumacher's, but they don't thrive in Florida or the street trees. Now you're gonna replace it with a Schumacher, which is the correct tree that should be in.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
No second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, absent unanimously. The next proposal is number 546, replacement of a tree.
Move to approve.
I've got some, I'll take a second if anyone wants to second or discussion.
I'll second.
This is an area on sagebrush. There, I guess the developer, when they were coming around, were putting in clumps of 3 cypresses in different areas, and this was a clump of 3 cypresses. Well, I presume it was a clump of 3 cypresses from what Brett said. There are 2 very healthy, very good looking cypresses that live this home right now.
That are on CDD property.
That are on CDD property. I really don't see the need to put another one in
Oh.
there. So, I mean, especially when those grow up, there'll be more than enough to cover that area.
I rescind my motion.
Well, if we have a second, we still have to vote on it, right?
Oh, we can, yeah.
Or, I mean, if we want,
Well, can rescind it or we can go ahead and vote on it, but
If you were rescinding, I'll rescind my second. Okay.
the motion has been rescinded. Any other questions about this? Because what we're doing now is our developers put in, well, or were required to put in a lot of trees. And now as they mature, they're crowding each other out. So if we replace this one, we're just setting ourselves up for a crowding issue in that little area. So
Is this just a resident request as opposed to a need?
Brett explained that, one, I guess there was a clump of three, one of them fell over, the three went out and cleaned it up. And then the thought was, well, we've got to replace it. The homeowner wanted a maple instead of a cypress, but you know, then it really would have been a problem.
So there would have been 3 trees together,
Yes.
2 cypress and a maple, okay.
So at this point in time, I don't see a real reason unless somebody has a particular concern or reason to replace this.
No, I agree.
Moving on, the next item on the agenda is an offer of amaryllis and lily bulbs.
Yes. So we have had a very generous offer for spider lilies and amaryllis bulbs. There are many of them, a couple hundred each. Thing is that they have some toxicity, so they're mildly toxic. They're not heavily toxic. Nobody's going to die from, a dog is not going to die from eating a leaf or a flower. Children are not, probably even going to get sick from touching it and ingesting it in small amounts. So, but I know that the residents are concerned about toxic plants, so I thought we could put them in areas by the entrances where there may be shrub material that is questionable at this point. The thing about the amaryllis is that it comes up and blooms and then it dies back. It has some very nice green leaves, but then it dies back. So it would have to be in areas where we wouldn't have and of the spider lilies, I need to do more research on in terms of whether they die back like many, an amaryllis is a bulb, right? So usually at a certain time of year, it leaves out and then it flowers and then the leaves accumulate more food for the bulb and then the leaves die back. So we wouldn't want it to put it in a place where it's completely bare because part of the year would be completely bare while the bulb is after the bulb is regenerating until it reblooms. So I can work with, I don't have any kind of graphic of a plan. I can work with Benchmark to take a look at where those areas might be, that it might be appropriate if the board is amenable.
We certainly could provide, and assist with locations that we feel it would
Be
do
appropriate.
right. It would be out of harm's way and it wouldn't be eyesore when they had to be cut back and it's bare.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
can certainly assist them.
Yeah. So I'm figuring near the entrances to Harmony where there isn't much traffic. There's not much foot traffic. There's no people really not walking dogs. There's no kids out there because it's by the highways.
So I do have a question. So is Benchmark gonna plant these and then maintain them? Or,
No, I thought residents would. Maybe the Harmony Nature and Animal Committee would,
okay. Harmony Nature.
and Animal Committee.
But it's important, I think, for Benchmark to be involved in
Yes.
location because,
And watering and all kinds
yeah,
of things.
water, making sure that it's not
It'll work.
going to complicate.
Works for everyone.
Harmony Nature and Animal maintain. Plant,
No, just plant,
plant. And then Benchmark maintain.
right? As long as Benchmark is okay with that,
If it substitutes for something. then-
right?
Yeah, I would speak with Jacob and I'm sure that would be the conclusion.
Thank you. Is there any opposition from the board on that?
No, they're beautiful. I just pulled them up on the internet.
They are
Sounds like we're not adding any expense or anything like that, or additional work for the landscaper, so. it's a win-win.
I know it's consulting, right?
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay.
All right, anything else the board or benchmark needs to bring?
You need to take any action with that, or just one, okay.
We don't need to vote on acceptance, right? No, okay.
I will get with Jacob and let him know that the one tree removal and replacement is to go, and then the one on the CDD land we're dismissing.
They're both on CDD land, aren't they?
Yes.
Well, the one that's
Yeah,
just an
the one on
install.
Sagebrush. Oh, yeah. the one on Sagebrush. Yeah.
The two cypress that are there. Okay, so 5, 6, and 5.
All right. Is that it?
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
It has got.
good warning. That was
Thank you.
good timing on your warning there.
All right, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the regular meeting of March 30th, 2023. And the minutes in the packet include all the changes that were submitted.
Supervisor Castle and Supervisor Kramer provided some revisions, and those have been included.
So that's what you did review in the packet. So.
Correct.
We also have our March financial statements and the number 275, March 2023 invoices in the check register. Does anybody have any comments that they? Yes,
I do. The storage sheet that's on there has been refunded
Okay,
because you declined
right.
and they charged for it. So I just want to let you know that
Thank you.
I've already asked for a refund for that. They also put it on your April invoice again, so I had that removed as well.
before, there's one thing I noticed, going back through like some previous ones, I noticed like every, my name's not always consistently, it's like sometimes I'm Mr. Lee, sometimes I'm supervisor, sometimes I'm vice, so it just, maybe we can make sure we're consistent with that, small things, so noting that, I'll move to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I hear any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is new business. We are going to discuss an offer from Harmony, Florida Land to donate some land to us.
Yes, so Harmony, Florida Land approached me to ask if we would consider accepting a number of parcels from them. The parcels that are offered are in the agenda package. Question is still unanswered. I was put in touch with John Miklos, the owner of Biosphere, in regard to whether we would be obligated to monitor and manage invasive plants on those parcels. He just got back to me this afternoon.
And who's he?
He's the owner of Biosphere, and he was recommended to me by Harmony Florida Lands as a knowledgeable person. I also reached out to the South Florida Water Management District, tried to speak with 2 different people. Neither one are at the office. Was their voicemail at the office is, here's my number, like, I can't get that down. Here's my email address. Tried to send it, it bounced because I couldn't hear it. So I need to reach out to them again to find out whether we need to, we would need to monitor and manage invasive plants on those parcels. The document that Angel sent me has some maps. The last page on that map seems to show some wetlands, and I'm going to request from South Florida Water Management District as to whether these are.
This is, and I can provide you with some much clearer maps of all the conservation areas that our permit covers. But I think we did send out a map that covers all those. I don't know if you have it, that you can put it up. Dan or not?
It was emailed
It was emailed out.
separately from more recently this week.
This is the one that Pegasus Engineering had put together.
Okay, it'll take me a few minutes to get that up, but I can.
That's the green area, shaded areas are where we currently own. And the pink areas are the areas that are held by, under different ownership. Mostly Harmony Florida land. Our permit requires us to basically monitor and treat all of these wetlands. However, if they are under a different ownership, we cannot go into private owner owned lands and treat. So they gave us a pass on all those that are under private ownership because of that issue. We can't go spraying chemicals on somebody else. If we do take ownership, we then become responsible because it's under our permit. And the permit requires that we maintain it in perpetuity, basically free of all invasives, but they give us what was it, a 10% ability to have up to 10% coverage. Because they know the invasives just take over and are difficult to keep down. They cannot force the private owner to do it because the private owner isn't the permitting, isn't the responsible entity for the permit.
So an option would be, and maybe David, you've have experience with this. If the current private owner transferred ownership to a different private owner, then has that kind of thing been done?
Usually the conditions follow if that's what the conditions of permits. When it gets transferred.
Well, the permit holder is Harmony CDD.
Saying if the new land, if Harmony CDD was to accept the new land.
No,
No,
no. I'm saying if Harmony Florida Lands, the current owner of the property that's being offered, were to transfer ownership to a different private entity, not the CDD, that allow the CDD access, then we could not have, the CDD wouldn't have to comply, and the new owner probably would not have to comply with wetland and conservation area monitoring and management.
what would we need access?
Trails.
Can you sure?
I think that I also think that when you transfer the property, they inherit the conditions of the permits, the new owner.
But the permit is only with Harmony CDD, no?
I'm sure they have a permit though too.
No, according to the current owner, they're not obligated to do any monitoring or management.
That's not exactly. And that's where I would be careful with this. And a year ago, I sat down on a conference call with Jim Lentz and Robert Evans, who were the original folks involved. And they were thinking the same way you are, Carol, right now. Their original plan was that none of these conservation areas would come to the CBD because they recognized that then and in the future, maintenance of them would be extremely expensive. So their intent was to keep all of these in like a land trust, as well as Fox Lake. And that way they can private hands, they could control the access to them, it wouldn't be public ownership, so there wouldn't be that foreign issue of letting anybody from the public go on these lands. Unfortunately, that fell through when the bulk of the land changed hands and then they can do it over the CD. So we ended up with about 230 or 48 acres. The others, it was anticipated that they would be turned over as the developments developed, but he held on to that. There is one small parcel down here, and I was trying to go back and find it, but it's like the parcel on page 116, I think, or the little one on page 121 right at the bottom. But as there was some access going through the parcel. Where Mr. Fuselier used to let them dump dirt back there, they impacted that one. And when they did that, the water management district went to the person who did it, which was Fuselier's group, and to Mr. German and enforced against them. They had to restore it and they had to come up with a monitoring plan, long-term monitoring plan. They contacted us and said, well, you're the permit authority, you take over responsibility and pay for this monitoring. And we don't own it. We don't, when it's ours, and then we'll do it. So that is, and it's still out there. I had trouble finding it because it's such a difficult website to go on. So we need to be careful with that one. But again, the rest of it, it's pros and cons. I would love if we had enough money to say, we'll take it. Some of these areas, like either Feathergrass or Middlebrook, I can't remember, is an upland conservation area. It's beautiful. The kids go out, they get to spend time outdoors, they enjoy it. I would love to see Harmony have all of this. The problem is, whether we have it or not, that old world planning firm is going to be taken over. And it's going, my fear, whether we have it and don't treat it, or someone else has it, is that it gets worse and worse. It's going to, again, overtop the trees, kill off the vegetation. We're going to have basically Harmony ringed by dead vegetation that will go up in a heartbeat. So this is a really difficult question, because to accept the donation means a lot of money up front to treat it, and then another full staff member to keep on top of it. That's what that's what that means. But to not take it means we have old world climbing firm basically surrounding us, and spores coming into our currently treated area, which then causes problems. So I'm in a quandary as to what to do. Now, the ideal, which I would absolutely love, it's a big ask, is if the owner would remediate for the old world or the invasives, particularly old world climbing firm, before he turned it over to us. Or if it's a better tax situation for him, if he would donate the land and the money for remediation, so we could have it done immediately as he turns it over to us.
But then you're still talking about ongoing remediation,
That's
because
true.
we're obligated to keep treating it in perpetuity. And one treatment, even if that money is put aside, may make a dent, but it's just going to come back if it's not continued to be treated.
Right, it would mean the initial treatment would hold it for the time being, but we would have to go back and, budget for an extra staff person to keep after it.
Well, that's only if we accepted it
Right, if we accept it.
as a CDD property.
Now, the question is, both to David and to our attorney, what would happen? What would the enforcement look like? Right now, we can't go in, it's private property. Is there a way for the water management district, with it being private property, to force us to monitor and treat for invasive, with it being private property? Mike, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. I didn't know if you were going to me or David first. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay. I've not looked at that issue, but obviously, just because there's a permit doesn't mean that we have the right to go on the property. So we would have to either locate an easement that's already there, or we would have to go to the property owner and get an easement for permission to go on their land. One of the other things that you might want to consider is whether or not, you can do this in a staged approach and, work from the inside of the community outward. And that's just a thought for y'all to consider. But typically, unless you have that property right, you can't go on somebody else's property. And whether or not the water management district can force you to exercise eminent domain, that's never been tried for them to do that so that you could go on that property. And typically, when there's a permit issued, it's going to be applicable against all the property owners that they have to comply with the conditions. I defer to David, but that's always been my understanding is the property owner isn't without any responsibility.
David?
Again, I'm a little confused on, are you not donating the land? I mean, are you not accepting the land or you don't want?
We-
We're trying to decide, make an informed decision on whether to accept it or not, based on what we may or may not have to do if we do accept. It's gonna be a huge financial burden if we accept it and we have to. We've seen already, it was 194,000, and this is about the equivalent acreage.
And just for number purposes for you all, we reached out to Mr. Snidely and asked if we wanted him to come in and maintain what you all just had treated. It's another 95,000
Per year.
per year. Just to keep up with it.
Well, we're probably going to be spending, I mean, not that much, but a staff person to monitor, treat, and the chemicals and equipment to do it. So we're probably going to be spending $60,000-$70,000 as it is.
Right, but if you take on that property, you're gonna need.
Yeah,
revenue
no,
to it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, well, let's let David answer the question. My thinking is we see if some additional private owner could take ownership of that property, not the CDD, and if they would be exempt from having to monitor and manage the invasive plants.
My belief is whoever takes that land over, that permit's got to get transferred to the new owner.
The permit's not on that land. The permit's only on Harmony CD. It's only with Harmony CDD.
There's no permit that encompasses that land.
Well, if a permit encompasses that property, but we're the responsible entity for that permit because of the development. Because those were conservation areas set aside to mitigate for the wetlands that were
Destroyed.
destroyed during the development.
Real quick, I see Lucas has come on, so at any point, if you need to chime in on something, feel free to unmute
He
yourself.
joined at 6:37.
Oh,
Great, hello Lucas, welcome.
Hello.
So, what are your thoughts? I mean, right now, is the Mr. German the private owner responsible? It sounds like Mr. Eckert's statement was that the private owner should be responsible for mitigating.
But you're telling me that that area is encompassed in your South Florida permits.
Yes.
Well, wait. It's, so the permit is regards the bounds of the CDD. And the land is in the bounds of the CDD. But the
I don't
CDD
think all
doesn't,
of it is.
what was that?
I don't think all the land is within the district boundaries. I think there's a fair amount that's outside the CDD boundaries.
Yeah, on the northeast side, yeah. But, so not. What our permit is in regard to the property that's, within the CDD bounds. But we don't own all the property in the CDD bounds, and South Florida Water Management District hasn't been requiring us, or according to Mr. German, him to monitor and manage invasives on his privately owned property that is within the CDD boundary.
So you want to use it. He's gonna,
No, we want, well, an idea that I'm floating is that we have somebody else, another private entity, take ownership from Mr. German's company. And if that private entity is not going to be required to monitor and manage invasives.
I'm not comfortable on an answer yet, I'll be honest with you.
It's,
If Mike doesn't throw me a lifeline, I'm gonna accuse myself.
No, I think David and I need to talk about that. I mean, I looked at the issue of whether or not the district could own lands outside its boundaries and what the parameters are for districts that do that. And provided some information, I think, to Angel prior to the meeting on that issue. But the permitting issue, I've not reviewed the permit that the chair is speaking of, and so I don't know, the bounds of where it is. So I think that's something that we need to take a look at. I need to talk to David and then get back to you all at the next meeting if the board has an appetite for pursuing this further. I would note, though, when I talked about, starting from the inside out, I mean, there are some what we'll call island parcels here that look like they're part of that may be a little bit easier to bite off for the district than some of the ones that are larger on the exterior. So, but with that, I mean, I would just ask for a deferral to the next meeting so David and I can review the documentation.
Well, maybe we'll put off your review until I speak with both the current owner and the contractor from Biosphere to have their input. And also try to get in touch with South Florida Water Management District.
That makes sense to me. I'm happy to stand down.
Can I ask a question? Why do they want to get rid of, turn this property over to us?
He doesn't,
Hanging on MPs?
no, but they may be paying taxes, county taxes.
well, the property, the county taxes are minimal,
Yeah.
it's considered wasteland.
Yeah.
Is what the designation is, so I don't think it's either of those, I know he's finishing up his development in Harmony and.
Doesn't want to be responsible.
Okay, just cleaning up. And then, but if it gets, and my other question is, if we find a way that we don't have to pay to treat the invasives, but do we want those invasives left there?
That's,
Is that the quandary here?
My quandary is, my quandary is I don't want the invasives left there because
They're gonna intrude on
onto our land.
And there's nothing we can do
And-
about someone's invasives coming onto our land. There's no
It's
law.
spores that travel through the air and there's nothing we can do about it.
Uh-huh.
To clarify, so we have it on the screen on the Zoom, so
Okay.
this one here, this is the figure 2, that is that's showing, I think, all the different areas that are being suggested to donate, is that correct?
Just the ones to the east. I do not know why he did not offer the properties around Butterfly Trail.
Well, I think there it goes over to the Harmony West CDD boundary.
Right, but I'm just saying that I think that's what the Nature and Animal Committee had approached him on because of the vandalism over there, right?
yes.
But that was not in the offer that he presented in the agenda.
Right, yeah, this dotted red line here, this is the CDD boundary, so.
Yes. So you can see up to the northeast is where he's offering us lands that are outside the Harmony CBD.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need to discuss this anymore, I mean, we have some.
No, I think we can just table it.
need Definitive determination from the water management side, we have the one statement from our consultant that you own it, it's under your permit, you have to treat it and take care of it. As far as
Which
what
consultant is that?
Owen and Lloyd,
If you own it.
so the question there is, do the private owners have to treat it? And the problem is that when this was originally done, it got totally screwed up because they had us back several years ago signing over easements to the Army Corps of Engineers on properties we didn't know and couldn't get an easement on. So it's totally, it never should have ended up this way, but here we are. So we have a lot.
So we just burn it.
No,
I meant to get rid of the,
no,
yeah,
I'm being serious.
yeah,
It's been experimented on and they found that actually spreads it.
okay.
It spreads it through the air, and then after the burn, we have open ground that new spores come in and you would have even worse problems. So that technique ended up in a nightmare for it.
Okay.
Hey, this is Lucas. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, just quick questions. What's the benefit of taking on these parcels as far as the offer that goes? And then if we were to take up some of these, would that increase the overall CDD for the residents here in Harmony?
So we had discussed this before earlier. The benefit would be because a number of these areas have some trail capabilities on them. So one parcel in particular had a trail called Jug Creek Trail on it. So increasing the trail system for the residents was one of the main motivations for considering accepting the donation. And in terms of cost, that's what we're talking about. We've been talking about for the last 20 minutes is, can we accept this property without having any additional monitoring and maintenance costs for invasives? That's the question we need to answer. And that's the question I'm going to continue to research after the meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and Teresa had mentioned the land for the children play on. Wasn't that part of it?
Yes, that's an upland preservation area.
Xeric Oak.
It's for use kind of this nature classroom.
So
That's part of Jug Creek Trail.
Yeah. Okay.
So at this time, we will
Table.
table it, and Supervisor Castle will continue investigating and communicating with the property owner on this.
Yes.
Can I ask one other quick question? Before Harmony was developed, did one person own the whole huge area?
Well, one company.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was a couple of different landowners that the company put together.
Okay.
But it was pretty much a ring.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I
yes.
thought. And so, but then we had all these other owners popping up that,
Well, that's because.
Cattle Ranch and Orange Groves.
Yeah, cattle ranch and orange, but, the other property owners are the subsequent developers who bought. portions
Oh,
of
okay,
Harmony.
okay. All right.
That's where we are now. All right, the next item on new business is consideration of a facility use request for our town square. By the Harmony and Middle School jazz band for a concert.
Harmony Middle School. I don't think it's Harmony and.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Harmony Middle School. So they have submitted their application. They're looking at about 200 attendees. They're gonna put a concert on with their school jazz band is gonna put on a concert and sell tickets for dinner. They have not submitted any other information, because first they want to make sure the board's gonna approve them using town square. And then once they do that, they'll have to provide their insurance and all of the normal things. So that's where it's at.
Well, normally we don't request any funds from them, but with 200 people, we need to ensure that we have a deposit in case of cleanup
Correct.
requirements.
Agreed.
So with those caveats, move to approve.
I would also ask, can we also ask them to make sure they have enough garbage cans set out there for their event? And
Right, yeah, that's one of the requirements. and-
It is a requirement already that they have
and they
sufficient,
want
yeah,
solid.
for, yes. During the event and afterwards. That the CDD is not responsible for taking their trash. They have to take it out themselves.
Right, I think they should leave it the way they found it, right? Take care of it and do their job.
So I have a motion, do I hear a second?
Who moved?
I did.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve. Requiring a deposit but not requiring a fee, since it is our school system. Or any further discussion? Hearing none. I'll call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. Take care. So we may have music.
Music and dinner, dress accordingly.
All right, we're now on staff reports, your manager report. We have Jason. And Brett's hanging out there too. What have you done?
All right, so as you guys know, the prime rose sidewalk was completed already.
Primrose.
Primrose Road.
Primrose.
Mhm.
Yes, and it came in about 1,000 under what we.
Oh,
estimated,
wonderful.
so that worked out well.
Yeah.
Any other ongoing things, how's the splash pad?
We have a little bit of bad news there.
Flat over, Jay.
Anybody have any tissues?
You're gonna need a
I'm just.
No, so, splash pad is actually, was moving along great, until this morning. Staff was working yesterday, they were coming back out on Monday, they've figured out all the issues, they were gonna finish cleaning out, they had the center nozzle going, a lot of the circular ones or the outside circles, they were starting to get cleaned up and figured out. Jason and staff went down there this morning to work with Pool Sure to make sure that the chemical feeder was accurate, because last week we did have.
No, it was for me. It was metaphorical. I didn't really want it. I was crying because of the splash pad.
I'm sorry, but
Last week, we did have a spot inspection by health department on the pool splash pad and everything else. Everything was fine. Splash pad, since it was shut down, there was no inspection. Jason was making sure Pool Sure was feeding, the chemical feeder was working. They opened the vault and it was flooded. So we reached out to PFS right away. We've got the sump pump going to get it out. And they'll be out here Monday to find out. There was a break on one of the, and I'll let Jason explain it because he actually saw it. It's one of the valves that he repaired, correct?
Correct.
There's about
About a quarter.
quarter-inch crack in it, and it just like it happened between yesterday and this morning.
I thought when I passed there this morning, it was on. No, it's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Again, it may have happened
Yeah.
somewhere in that time, so. Hopefully the breakers and everything worked as they were supposed to, because once, your the pump was underwater, the new motor was underwater.
Oh,
Hopefully that engaged the breaker to kick off and we didn't blow the pump. But that's where it's at, and I
no,
was really
need
excited
those
to come in and
tissues.
tell you guys that Monday we were gonna be in really good shape. But he sent me a text at 12:15-ish today,
Yeah. Around those.
and I
The
wasn't.
pictures were very promising. I mean, water was shooting up. It was ready to
Right,
go.
we're playing in
No, I don't think so.
it. Okay,
Yeah.
so
I think here's what I honestly believe could be the issue. From what Mo said from PFS, a lot of this is original. So if there were any backups or, over time clogs that he's finally cleaning out. And then you get the right pressure going, you may have some water in
Bricks.
there, you may have, a glue joint that fails or a small crack that's now expanded. That would be my guess as to what happened. But again, I'm not
Yeah,
Mo. or
it's a
PFS.
20-year-old
It is.
amenity.
yeah, but he's been working on the valve.
He had replaced the solenoid in it. Yeah, I was doing the clean out part of it. I mean, again, maybe when he was tightening it back up, there was a small crack further back that you're not going to see in the fitting. And as you increase pressure, that crack moves down the pipe from the fitting and it blew, so. We'll know more on Monday and I will obviously send an update out to the board accordingly. Once I hear from him and Mo.
So you're gonna throw a party when this is finally resolved?
I'm gonna rent the keg. Okay? And I'm gonna be the one doing the keg stands
Okay,
and
okay,
then serving beer.
okay.
You have a bit of positive news for you. We took the Polaris to Route One Motorsports, okay, because Briggs, who were supposed to be taking this thing to, according to Polaris, still not responded to the engine. A few weeks ago, when Jason was cleaning out the containers, the Polaris fired up and they were able to drive it. I'm like, well, shut it down just in case. We don't want to further compound the issue of the Polaris. But we did take it to Route One. Route One called me right before this meeting and they feel that it's just a gasket on the muffler and possibly a fuel pump. Not a blown engine. So I'm waiting on that proposal to come back. Again, we based the engine issue off of Kissimmee Motorsports saying, well, I mean, we just serviced it, it's smoking, you probably threw a rod and you need a new engine. So that's where we were chasing. So that's a bit of good news. It should save you close to $6,500 worth of quotes I was seeing for the new diesel engine.
If it works.
If it works, but they did have it running. They had it running at the dealer today. And it was running. He said, yeah, there's some smoke, but he goes, that's probably a gasket with the muffler. And he said, and the reason it may have shut off was because of, it could be a fuel pump, could be a fuel filter, something with a fuel regulator. I'm not a mechanic. So
So hopefully,
Sound like one.
well,
I try.
I'm very happy. They've gotten it, they were able to
Yeah.
diagnose it.
That we found a new vendor.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will go back to the Primrose sidewalk real fast. Infomark is going to be installing ADA pads at no additional cost. We actually need two. We tried to do them today, but they were too big. The pads were too long. So you have the ramp and we didn't want to put them in incorrectly. So we're going to order the proper ones and those will be installed once they arrive by Freddie and staff.
There's only one.
There should be two,
There's
one
two.
on, yeah, because there's an alley in between
Yeah.
and then
What do you say?
it's sidewalks on either side of that alley.
What else? What other questions do you have for us?
Well, we've got here, you guys are still working on a revised sidewalk inspection. It will be coming back sometime in the future with it.
Yes and no. I think it's probably best that we move forward and find vendors to do this sidewalk project and not the Infomark staff and field staff. And we looked at it from a decision standpoint. What we don't want to do is muddy the waters with what Jason and staff are doing and Angel and myself versus our other side of it. And to make sure that it's, moving forward, it's probably the best idea to do that, to go that way, because it's a very large project. I mean, moving forward with sidewalk replacement. So I think finding those vendors is probably going to be the best bet to move forward instead of us taking.
Didn't we use a vendor the last?
You went through us.
No, not just this last time, but the one
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
You can look in the system and see who
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ask them to come out and do an inspection and kind of
Yeah.
provide a report to
Yeah.
you all, so you can determine how you want.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to that, the intent of the report wasn't to say, here's everything that's broken. The intent of the report was to say more because we were coming into budget season. We have other districts that ask for these sidewalk inspections. They have an idea to go like a go forward plan. So, again, if you look at the proposal that was sent, that's again, grand total of everything that's either broken or lifted. Obviously, you've taken almost $5,000 out of that, which is not a very big chunk when you look at the total dollar figure. No, but and again, the thought is yes, it's cracked, but it's maybe not a trip hazard right now. But as whatever, like on Middlebrook, there was some cracks on Middlebrook, well, the trees aren't very big yet on Middlebrook, but in the next 5-10 years, those trees are going to be now close to the age of the trees on Catbrier. So wherever it's cracked currently, those roots are gonna lift that sidewalk because it's already cracked. So looking like as a go forward budgetary wise. we
Yeah,
went
that's
through and did
reserve
everything.
and renewals versus operations and maintenance.
Correct, but
That
it was more for budgetary
Yeah.
purposes.
But we needed to know. You know, which one were appropriate to do now versus just saying. Hey,
A year, 5 years, 10 years, because those ones on Middlebrook are probably gonna be at least 5, if not 10 years, because the ones on Caprior are 20 years old.
Could be, yeah. I mean, if you have a hurricane come through and those oaks topple over, if there's roots under there, it'll,
well, those would be real obvious. and
Yeah.
then-
That's the case with all the trees in Harmony.
correct.
So I did have a question,
Sure.
but I don't know if, I mean, I don't know if it should be addressed with David in the engineering report or with you guys. It's really about the repaving project and,
Yeah, let's-
well, it's about the signs and all of that,
Okay, so-
Well,
because the signs have been
so it's gonna be,
misleading
we'll
and
joint answer this one. How about that? Is that fair?
whatever you like.
So last week, I believe I shot an email update out with the new schedule, their go ahead schedule or look ahead schedule, right? Look ahead. And I asked after that if there were any firm dates based on each individual section of the alley like there were before, and there weren't. So the signs were originally going to be based off of how they sectioned out each alley and when they would finish in, what was it, August, September, as those signs would move. I can get more signs, or we can get more signs,
they're enough
but I
relevant.
don't have dates to put necessarily on the
have,
signs. Now,
So we do have dates.
No, not quite.
What? Didn't we just get something today?
well, yeah, you have a milling and resurfacing date, but that's for every alley. So I can
Right.
get, that's what I was gonna say, I can get those signs with those dates on it. But I can't tell, like, you know, if you live on this alley, it's gonna be between the 1st and the 5th, it's gonna be the 4th. I don't know that.
No,
date.
you just have signs in all the alleyways saying paving, grinding and repaving happening between May 1st and May 5th or whatever it was, right?
Right,
And then there's other things, right? There's cleanup or whatever. I mean, I know on, you know, in my alleyway, it's the major part of the cleanup, but I don't know if there's cleanup elsewhere that needs to happen. Certainly on our alley, you know, it's been a huge mess, right? I should say my alley because nobody else here lives there.
You're just-
But
yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, just residents need to be informed. These signs have been up for a couple months now, and they have essentially been pretty ineffectual, right? And so let's do something to inform the residents about what's coming up with dates that are still legible. Please.
So we take David's thing that he sent out from them, that whole little group, and put it on a sign and put it in every alleyway. And there you go. Paving is this
So we're
thing.
gonna add
Do
more
you
signs.
hang stuff on the
Too
doorknobs?
big.
Maybe do that?
No,
Yes.
because
It's the only way you're gonna be able to do it.
I don't think people are really. That when they go back in to fix irrigation and fix the sod and stuff, those activities will probably not have. A huge impact on the people who live along the alleys. The biggest thing is just getting the word out, and if I don't want to get the wrong dates out, if they need to change them. That May 1st through the 5th, that there will be the milling and paving of all the alleyways.
but people also, there's dozens of homes where they have destroyed the irrigation system. I just read about somebody yesterday or the day before whose water bill was,
Can I ask something? And hopefully everyone who's listening and it's on Zoom and everyone here, spread the word. If it is on Facebook, it doesn't exist
In our world.
in our world. If it doesn't get reported to CDD maintenance.
I did
doesn't
report to
get
CDD
reported.
maintenance.
But I see and hear, well, it's reported on Facebook. Well, we don't monitor Facebook.
Right.
So if it's not reported to CBD maintenance or Jason, we don't know about it.
But I did report that they were destroying irrigation in both CDD and owner lots when they first started with all the ribbon curbs. And people were not notified about that. And so their sprinkler system was on and water was, their water bills are huge. There was no notification about that. And there's been no notification about when it's going to be addressed.
Well, I got off to say tonight, so we'll wait.
Yeah, okay, so we'll take more of this up.
But there needs to be better communication, is what I'm saying.
We need to get signs then by tomorrow. Or this weekend.
Verify those dates with CCI before you get the signs.
I gave you guys today, it was right from them this afternoon.
Okay.
So
So we
what
can
they're permitting is the latest and greatest.
And you might want to add that verbiage, weather permitting.
We're just gonna say alleyways. Are currently being milled and resurfaced between May 1st and May 5th, weather permitting. That's all the sign's gonna say. I'm not gonna say closed, because they're not technically closed,
Not right,
just alerting residents that
there's gonna be work in there. I've heard, I mean, I know, and I've seen the construction of some of it, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me excited about it. They've seen drains come in, be put in, and they're really excited about the improvements that are coming, because we have had a lot of problems with the alleys, and we're excited about that coming. Unfortunately, like with any construction project, there are gonna be oopses. I just wish the oopses weren't just folded in half and left.
Without any notification to the
Right.
owners, so.
Okay, so we'll discuss alleyways more when we get to
David,
the frontage fence we dealt with we talked about last month. A huge number, what was it, $140,000.
60.
I was hoping that we might be able to stage something.
That's what I had suggested.
And I looked at the aerials and talked to you guys about the fences. All that fence was put in at the same time. I was hoping that the stuff to the west was put in at a later date, but it's the whole thing, according to the aerials, looked like it went in at the same time. Which means it's the same age, which means it's, now the question is, if the board wants to start maybe with the most obvious areas, like maybe just at the east entrance from our property line because.
It's not all in the worst case condition.
Right, and there's a lot of that fence that there's a lot of shrubs and things that would put a barrier if we did have to remove a portion of it. You can't even see from the highway, the white fence from the point where the overpass starts. So that's not even visible from the streets or most of Harmony at all.
Well, not from 192, but certainly from inside the community it is.
For some select areas. So I don't know if we want to go out and start doing the area from the east entrance east to the property line and the east entrance east to what the tunnel maybe.
Oh, I think we need to know what the cost for those.
We just have to measure it up and look, but is that something the board would like us to go further down the line in investigating? That would be, I want to say about a quarter to a third of it.
I don't know what to measure it.
So that would take it down to, again, it's still a big 40 to 50,000.
Right, it's still a big number.
So, or we can do even lesser, but more directly at the entrance.
Do we think that, I mean, when we'd have to get a new quote for that smaller portion, I take it?
I don't know if they would hold it for
I mean-
your flip price or.
I mean, I walked it yesterday, and it's about 100 rails and about 80 posts that needs to be replaced. Like, ASAP.
That subset being a smaller job, do we think there might be, more?
That's a lot
responses?
smaller job,
So do you mean 100 rail sections or,
100 rails, individual rails.
so that's 25? That's in
Sections.
between, right, it's 25 sections.
Right, because they're four, it's a four.
Four rail.
Four rail fence, yeah.
And it's not all in one location.
And is it possible that because of a visual break in the fence, we could go, and I don't know what, I mean, Joe, you had suggested this, that we go with, if we're replacing, that we go with a 3-rail fence instead of a 4-rail fence. Because if we have a 3-rail fence here and we have a break, nobody's really going to notice that we go to a 4-rail fence here. Maybe later, when we go to replace that, we can replace that with a 3-rail fence and save 20% on our materials costs.
Didn't you get a quote?
Yeah, I did get a quote. For
On
those
3-rail fence?
Materials,
For those rails and the 80 poles,
it was like $5,000.
it was like $5,000, just on materials.
And that means we would do it in-house.
Yeah.
Like field staff would be the ones going out and replacing the fences and the rails. The rails are, yeah, the posts.
The post is just a,
Yeah, well, because apparently there's no wood centers in the posts.
The,
Those
So
posts
we-
that you got quoted don't have them either. You'd have to buy the,
You'd have to buy them
does it have it?
additionally.
on that quote, it comes with concrete. So we will be putting it in concrete.
Well, you'd be
But the-
putting the bottom of the post in concrete, but the post itself is hollow recycled plastic, right? So there's nothing inside that
2x4
No.
or
You
4x4. I mean.
4x4 inside. So you'd need to include that in your materials cost. That sounds like a lot more reasonable, $7
Yeah.
or $8,000 maximum for replacing that. Is
well,
that a really bad
but-
section?
no, that's. The top rail here, 4 sections down, the middle rail here.
It's
So
probably like
then we're gonna get those replaced and then other ones are gonna. break.
Yeah, it's not,
So
it's
it's,
not a complete
so
replacement.
the question is. If we replaced. And I don't know how far out, again, from the east entrance east. There are no homes or anything to feel jeopardized by removing it. So if we replaced a certain distance, but maybe not all the way to our property boundary.
Don't we have pillars though in between?
You know,
I
or replace that, then we may be able to scavenge enough. Usable material to replace the ones that are broken down a lot. Is that?
so let
are
me,
Any of them usable? Smooth,
some of them are.
some of them are,
Yeah.
some of them are.
so you're 25 posts and 100 or
80
however
posts.
many posts, 80 posts and 20 and
100
100
rails.
rails. That's just to replace what's really in bad shape?
Yes,
Is that, okay,
Like
it's
a
not to
band-aid.
But
replace
you could
just one
see.
section.
it's not
It's
one
to
section.
replace what's really bad.
Yeah.
Well, considering what our financial state is right now and coming up on budget, that would be my suggestion to,
Keep us out of hot water with code enforcement.
yes, and have the fence be more presentable at a really much more reasonable cost than 160,000 or even 40,000. That's my suggestion. Do I need to move to do that? So let's say not to exceed of $6,500 because we're adding those 80 4x4s. Is that reasonable? Because you said about $5,000 in materials for,
Probably need to buy 4 or 40. 4x4x6s and then cut those in half and you would get your 3-foot.
4x4x12s, maybe. You see what
You
you
wanna sink them 6 feet?
So
Oh,
it's
I got
5,000.
you.
That's. Then the question is. And I was really kind of shocked that there wasn't wood in them. But those have lasted 20 some odd years.
Without
wood in
them.
So maybe. You know, but that's.
You just roll no wood.
Yeah, just find out from the fence contractor, is it? Are they supposed to
Yeah,
have?
the-
wood in it?
The PVC is sturdy enough.
Right, if the way they're made, if they're reinforced to be sturdy enough, then we don't have to make that extreme amount of that. So you said 6,600?
move to approve 6,500 in fencing material costs to have field services replace damaged fencing along our CDD frontage.
I have a motion, second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, further discussion on this item?
Well, I think we should just rip it all out. So I know I'm not both those.
And
So,
then the 100 rails, 80 posts that were discussed.
And we can send that quote.
That's fine. I just wanted to put something in the notes. So.
Lucas, did you have?
so yeah, I was just gonna say, I know the financials are not well right now and, you know, we're coming into fiscal year, but if we keep band-aiding stuff, it's gonna be a constant battle just to get things fixed again. So just my 2 cents there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Just in general, I mean, that's not stopping us from, you know, in the future, doing a more thorough replacement as needed. The other thing to consider again is where are the fences in front of people's homes where they're, you know, obviously would be, you know, most concerned about that aesthetically or by the entrances versus if it's just in front of a section of the golf course, is that, you know, as important to not rip out. So that's also.
Golf course doesn't belong.
Right, well, so the point being, that's all stuff we can consider in the future. This, at least with the smallest budget impact, at least gets us, you know, looking presentable and not having code enforcement.
All right, and I would suggest the front of the entrances be the first priority of getting fixed to make sure our community looks nice on the outside. I know there's a lot of issues throughout our community with the fencing. I just think it's kind of gotten behind and not taken care of, so.
All right, so this will get us, so we're compliant with code enforcement, so it looks better for the time being. Then come back during budget time and start a phased approach is what I'm hearing from the board. Is that correct?
Well, look at a phased approach.
Right.
We're not gonna obligate ourselves.
No, yeah, this time. All right, I'll call the question on the motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
I
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Anything else?
Yes, we
Okay.
have a discussion of the picnic pavilion on proposals.
Yes, sorry, there was that as well. So there's 2 proposals there. We're a little proactive, maybe jumped the gun a little bit and started moving forward with
And it was at my garage.
the, I think it's the $7,000 one, isn't it?
Sunshade on
Sunshade awning.
7,500, Sun State awnings is 13,400.
And the reason for that is both of them have 8 to 12 week lead times. So it was like, man, if we wait till approval today, you know, they needed a deposit as well, so we would have to then turn the deposit around. So we move forward with the deposit on the sunshade. Pending ratification here at the meeting.
Pending a vote, not just ratification.
We can cancel it, but
Quick question, we could discuss. It's currently, or it was, or it's currently, the half that's left is bright yellow. Yeah, because there are
Agreed.
trees there now. I mean, that was fine when the trees weren't grown up over it, but now with trees and other things. The thought was to use the same color that's in the shade screens over the playgrounds, which is a
Deep green.
Tennis green.
tennis green, deep green.
I'm just going to the,
Is that,
just going there. Tennis green. Move to approve. Hold on, let me get to sunshade awnings and shade products, a proposal for $7,500 to replace the entire pavilion awnings in Buck Lake Park. For what?
Tennis green.
Oh, in tennis green.
I have a motion, do I hear your second?
second.
Thank you, Lucas. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. The next thing is steel building proposals.
Yep. So in front of you, you have a picture of, well, back up. I reached out to 4 vendors, Titan Steel and EverSafe are the ones that responded and kind of were the most responsive, but also easiest to work with. Some of them wanted like all sort, they're like, do you have engineered drawings? Or I'm like, no, like, we don't have any yet for you. This is all. But EverSafe's price is obviously significantly different than Titan Steel. Titan Steel definitely uses a different interior beam structure, it sounds like, than EverSafe, but when you look at their wind ratings and what they're saying these structures will hold up to, they're pretty similar. I think one's at 140 and one's at 150 in terms of miles per hour of wind. I will say this is all preliminary right now because the design of the buildings, the picture that you have is a somewhat of a look that we were kind of discussing and kicking around.
Yeah, this one's a lot taller.
Right.
Ours wouldn't exceed 12 feet.
Yeah, and the other has different dimensions. It's much smaller than, it's considerably smaller than the other proposal.
Yeah, the other one, Titan Steel, I tried to talk to them about a lean-to and they were like, so you want the building and then the lean-to on top of it? Like, no, we want everything on the 25 by 45 pad. They didn't really stick.
But
I shouldn't say pad, but
there,
area.
the impression I got from looking through the literature of the 2 companies is the other company, the Titan Steel is a true steel building construction. They're typically the bigger buildings that use the full steel I-beams. And it's really more of a industrial manufacturing type building than a storage or community maintenance building. Does that make sense? Yeah. But the requirement, we have to meet the county's building codes, we have to meet the wind loading and, the structural design requirements that the county has for hurricane safety. But EverSafe, according to all their literature and what they have on the spec, they do all that and they engineer to those.
Yeah, and again, the design can be whatever we want it to be. This was just a preliminary. We talked about it's gonna be a 25 foot wide side would be where the door is at, the roll-up door. There'd be 2 roll-up doors. Then on the 45 long side is where the lean-to is gonna come into play. So
What's the lean-to for?
outside storage, like if you want to put like some of the smaller trailers, instead of carting them inside, you just back them up there. If you have any pallets, like for example, the tractor has attachments, we put them on a pallet, leave those under the lean-to, so they're out of the elements, but not out of the elements, if that makes sense.
But why not put them in something big enough?
Because inside you're gonna have the golf carts, you're gonna have the CDD truck, you're gonna have the trailers. You could,
but why take up that space for the truck, without parking spaces?
I was just thinking for safety reasons, security reasons.
Well,
It just-
I'm assuming, so, one of the things that I reached out to Angel for soon after the meeting, and you too, Brett, was that I want to know, obviously a fence is going to need to go around this because, it's going to be at least a 6-foot fence, if not a 10-foot fence, to protect those assets and that building from being vandalized or, from theft. And so I don't know if the pad that's there is going to be sufficient, number one. I think that's a question. And if we're going to have to replace that pad, then there's the building, there's fencing, there's landscaping, there's, all the electrical work that would have to happen. So I'm guessing that we're talking at least $100,000. And Angel is like, yeah, I think so, at least $100,000.
So,
So my
yeah.
let me just finish my thought. If we have to spend that much money, maybe we improve the road and keep field services where it is.
Well, if you improve the road.
I like that idea.
250,000. Plus, we have to go in, we have to actually site plan and permit whatever we put down there. And from previous discussions, they're gonna need a building similar to this down there. We're right now spending $500 a month on a trailer that's substandard at best. And I'm not sure that the county will allow us to keep a trailer down. Their discussions have been, no, you need to site plan it, you need to have a permanent building, not a trailer. So we're looking at these costs anyway.
Yeah, so the site plan. Okay, so the site plan has to happen regardless. You're saying,
Right.
correct, okay, so that's,
Some site plan, a site plan for either location,
right,
one location.
Understood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we don't know that for sure yet.
For there, where it's at now,
Mhm.
we do. When I talked to the county, when they sent the violation letter, so the violation letter basically says we have to bring all of that back there in order to keep it back there. You have to bring all of that up to code, which would include the road, the trailer, and I think the storage containers.
Right,
too.
there's a prohibition in our PD against storage containers and mobile buildings. So the trailer and the storage containers still have to go. And we have to replace them with something.
right, so.
Correct.
It seems like it's getting cost competitive. If the pad that is at Buck Lake Park is, sorry, sidetracking myself. If that pad is not sufficient and we have to add to it, then that sounds like that's going to be cost competitive with just doing a new pad on some other CDD property. We already know there's the large added cost of fixing the road that would have to go with using the current storage area. Building cost is going to be the same whether it goes on either location. Utility service, do we have anything back there? I'm just trying to kind of get.
Yeah, I mean, you're currently paying for electricity,
Right.
but
Okay.
and that's, the water would be from the well.
Right, we have to check and see if they would allow us to use that or whether they're gonna require us to bring potable water.
No.
We have potable water there.
Want to get all the chips on the table.
You're right. Either place, we have to have the 10-foot screen fence with landscaping, or not 10-foot, the 6-foot screen fencing. With landscaping to screen the building from the garden use, because the garden use is considered recreational and quiet and peaceful versus the field services or community maintenance or
Right.
office. So you're gonna have to have basically all those costs no matter what.
Yes.
So David has something to add, so
David,
This is my topic, since we're talking about this. I wrote down last meeting that the relocated area would be storage and office.
correct.
So right now, the drawings that Brett and Jason are showing is storage only. But we have an apples and apples comparison. Does the new location have to provide a future office with?
This picture is just there was a request for, what is it gonna look like, or an idea, yeah, so
I did the breaks on my project.
Right.
Because of the.
the question is
Question.
the office versus the office. You're currently getting ready to open operations of actually Park Pool for the interim, right?
I'm already there.
You're already there.
I got the laptop there.
We have to by April 10th.
Right.
That's your next inspection for this violation letter.
May 10th.
May 10th, sorry. The first one was April 10th. They extended it to May 10th, so we have to have all of that out of there, including the office trailer. The only thing that we're going to have there are the two or three
We're working, well, yeah, we're
Two
working the third to get out of there.
storage containers, until we can get somewhere to store them. So y'all have pretty much everything out of that office, right?
The storage container that is currently under lease is empty.
It's empty.
And the trailer is
More
about
than
done.
50%, yeah.
So what we could do is continue again, the actual use of the Action Park pool office for the time when Jason needs to be in the office, which in discussion, Jason is a very different manager than we've had in the past. He doesn't use much office time is what I'm seeing, is that
Correct.
correct? He's more of a hands-on out in the field with the guys manager. So when he has to do cards, and get quotes and things like that, he would still need an office space, but again, he can use the Ashley Park for the interim. And then instead of having a formal office down here, he's said, just throw in a desk for me or something that I can write on and keep papers on and stuff. That's what I've heard.
So why were we thinking of improving? It seems to me it makes most sense to have field services all in one place instead of way up here and way down there. I'm not sure why there shouldn't be an office in this building.
I agree, because even though he does it the way he does it, if he needs to do something in the office, when he's in the middle of doing something on the golf cart, now he's got to get this, thing and truck it halfway across the community. Yeah, I think it should all be together. Personally.
Now that will run this up in cost because you're gonna have to insulate a portion of it, put room dividers in. And
Well-
what else do they have to do?
That's what we need to look into.
And then I think we would have to do that where no matter where we
No
put
matter
it.
where it goes.
So that's an additional cost.
Right, and has anyone considered having something stick built?
And is there any, well, that's gonna be more expensive. But have we really looked into whether there's any other property in Harmony that we can do this on? And we don't have to improve a road. I,
Something else, I've been over it and over it and over it and over it, and you guys can come up with another buildable piece of property. I would love to see it. I mean, it breaks my heart to even think of putting it down there. Luckily, we are able to put it down the slope where it will be hidden and out of the way. It'll be direct access in and out. It won't be anywhere near the playgrounds or the soccer fields.
and there's gonna be a dumpster right in the
And there
parking
will
lot.
have to be a dumpster.
But I still think if we made something look nicer. But yes, I know it'd be more expensive, but I think it should all be together. But I want to get back to my question here on the lean-to. So if the pad is 25 by 45. So is the lean-to, is the building gonna be 25 by 45 plus a lean-to?
That's
Or-
all, that's,
Decided the path.
Yeah.
Okay, so by having a lean-to really doesn't save us anything.
not necessarily, because you don't have to run the lean-to. So one of the things I talked to Eversafe about is the lean-to in this picture doesn't help because it shows the lean-to running the entire length of the building. You don't need that necessarily. So the lean-to only ran, say it's a 10-foot lean-to, it's 25 feet wide. You have the front of your shop or the back, whichever is a little more narrow, and then it kind of makes an L shape, and I'll try to draw a rough drawing. But it would kind of look like this, to where this area is your lean-to. It still fits on the pad, right? And it doesn't help you guys back there, but
Smaller building and then find those little ones from Amazon for
that's not gonna hold.
We
the
can't-
office, for the office.
Well, we can't do that because we have to meet building codes.
No.
But so this was the kind of what Eversafe was looking at, and then again, Titan Steel.
Yeah, no, I was just curious if the lean-to was gonna extend over the pad or, yeah,
shouldn't.
okay.
And then the fencing didn't get to that point yet, but I reached out to Chapco, who did our dog park fence. They were really engaged up front. Followed up with them 3 times, haven't gotten the price back yet.
I'm sorry, what about dog park? What did you say?
The
kind of fencing.
The fence,
The Chapco.
Chapco
Oh.
fence.
Oh, okay.
But we could build this, we could do away with one of the dog parks for this.
Don't we already have a deposit with Wisarski?
So then I called Straight Line.
We
Fence.
actually
Don't.
Why
We
do need a fence
actually
if the building is
have
public?
CDD property, don't we have CDD property? Across from where the new dog park is, that's where we
Yeah,
had
that's right.
talked about the CDD having the dog park, but the engineer got it wrong, not you, David, old engineer, got the location wrong. You dodged a bullet there.
Wait till the alley.
Got the location wrong, and we have property right there. And it's not in front of anybody's house. It's across from the golf course.
There's a large telephone easement on that. And also, unless the county gives us a permit to do another curb cut, the only access way in would be through the bike maintenance, so we have to work with the county on that, and we have to take down some pine trees.
We wouldn't, it would just be a curb cut on the road down to the golf maintenance facility. They don't own the road.
They own everything by us, you know, so that road.
Well, not the CDD portion. They don't, we could do a curb cut in the existing road
Right, off fibers.
or off the
Yes.
golf maintenance
She's saying off
facility.
The golf maintenance facility,
Yeah.
entry road.
Yeah.
Curb cut off of there,
We don't own that road, they do.
the golf course. That's right.
Golf
They own the road?
Yes, that is not a.
There has to be an easement.
No, it's not a public road.
So I'll go back to the fence discussion while he's looking at that. So I reached out to Straight Line about the $8,000 deposit that was put down in 2019. I was told over the phone that I was the 5th person from Harmony that they've spoken to about this. And that the $8,000 was put down to purchase the material for a project. All the material was purchased, was sitting in his yard, never used. He had to get rid of it because he would have lost. The material apparently was more than the $8,000, is what he's telling me. And that he came out of pocket to get the rest of it, and as it just sat there and began not decomposing, but falling apart, that he had to get rid of it or he took a loss. So from what he's telling me is we do not have a deposit or any fencing left for them to use. Now-
But he's the attorney, so
He said he spoke to the prior district council as well about this and that there was an understanding, is what I was told, that did not exist anymore.
That is not the
That's not
case.
point.
Not what
Again,
anything I
just-
recall.
Just sharing with
Thank you.
what I have, he did provide a proposal for 6-foot fencing with slats and without slats, so that privacy slatting that goes through the fence. Now came in today, and I will go to my email and read it.
And just so you know, Brett did go over the history of what was reported back to the board by. Because at that point, the board appointed Mr. Berube and Mr. Falls to work with straight line fencing. And what was reported to the board was X, Y, and Z, and he very clearly told Brett that is not.
I said that was not accurate.
Discussed.
So it was $8,500 for the drawing that I sent over for the non-slatted fence. It would be 6-foot black, commercial grade, black coated chain link. And if we wanted the slats, it'd be 11.8. So the privacy slotting, you know, where they weave the vinyl through it.
Mhm.
Could always get windscreens if you wanted to for privacy, but that's up to you.
Eventually.
And it was an email, it wasn't a quote, but I did not get one back from Chapco yet. So.
And why do we need a fence if we go with this, a building?
Oh,
You have, the county requires fencing. and a
Security.
visual screen.
Now, all right, setting that aside,
Mhm.
so looking at that parcel across from the newest dog park. Even with that phone easement and even with the kind of the slice of it along the road that the golf preserve does own. There's still, it's like, looks like maybe 100 by 80-ish feet of just free and clear land that we own. That I mean, as far as trying to strike the best balance here, I don't know how we can do the road improvement without like a special assessment or a bond or something crazy like that to come up with $250,000 fast. No one's gonna like that. If we do it on that area across from the across
New
from the
dog
dog
park?
park. Yes, we would, do we think it would be worthwhile to talk to Golf Preserve about just having access there, or is there gonna be a high cost with a curb cut onto Five Oaks? What's,
I would suggest that we keep everything on our own property. Last time I spoke with the golf folks, there is some thought that they are going to sell that golf maintenance facility because they want to do some other work and move the golf maintenance facility to other property within the golf course.
okay,
So
How much they're gonna sell it for?
way more than we can.
Oh. Yeah, but now we have access to the RV lot and we have.
But I did ask them to please, if they do decide to sell, contact us.
Yeah,
But again, just knowing what,
yeah,
and those are huge buildings. I love it. I love it, trust me.
buildings that already exist and have plenty service and everything.
We can have a site plan, and we can just move in and we could lease out the other the
Right,
extra space.
right.
But again,
And access.
that would be a
to-
huge special assessment.
This is the dog park. Yeah, right.
So.
But if we could purchase it.
This
just
is
keep
the
parking
old
lot
dog
instead.
park. This is the new dog park. And it's, that's right.
And we don't know when.
Right.
So,
So- So
Yeah.
to,
Teresa's
to
putting
that
a fight
end,
on that.
do we think we,
Yeah, it's just a curb cut.
so it
But
sounds
I
like
guess we'd
there would be
accessing it here.
a
But we don't need to
process
get
with
a
the
curb
county
cut on
to get
the
approval
county.
for a curb cut
Would that
for
be a
access, for our own
You think from
access
the county?
to that property from Five Oaks. If we, do we think we could get relief from the county as in, hey, no one, no,
We're moving forward.
right?
I think they would probably, if we're moving forward on the alternative, that they really can't, as long as we are moving forward in good faith
Mhm.
on an alternative, they can't. Where would we go? What would we do? You know, they can't just shut us down and continue. And I don't think they would.
Mhm.
Trust me, I would be visiting 5 county commissioners and screaming, and yelling. Yeah. So as long as we've got a plan and some site plan moving forward, I think they're gonna give us the time to get it done in it.
Sorry, I was just interacting with David about curb cuts and all of that and the parcel that's a
Yeah.
potential. And that parcel looks like it could be much more appetizing. No, that's not the word.
Less intrusive.
Less-
Yeah, well,
it's not-
appealing, that's appealing. It could be a much more appealing alternative to Buck Lake Park and
It
we
opens
wouldn't have to.
A sand trap, no one's going to be seeing this off their front porch or when they go to the park.
So,
Except for the new dog.
Well,
Okay, yeah.
somebody like.
Oh, I'm sure. It's impossible to do this.
somebody always going to complain, but
Yeah.
at least it's not directly impacting any homeowners' views.
well, see, it was picture in the Victorian building, very nice and cute.
Well, I.
We'll let you pay for it, Joe, for the Victorian building.
We just need to get some pieces of wood and paint it and Jason will hold the ladder and I'll go up.
I mean, the problem is for governmental.
Yeah.
entity and
Oh,
we
right.
can't
No,
get Together and build it, otherwise I would. Get together. And I, it's.
Well, the declaration part we can do. But so does that telephone easement?
I can show it here, Joe. It's,
Yeah, I know, I remember.
Are you screen sharing this
I'm,
on Zoom?
I could try. Oh,
If everybody in the audience can keep it down because it gets really confusing. on
Oh,
our-
David made a nice little triangle. Here, so this is the property we're talking about. So the new dog park is right here. And this would be the parcel that we're talking about.
Pulling it up. or
It's
trying to-
basically right before Feather Grass Point.
Give me a moment, I'll throw it on the meeting here.
It's to the left side of the golf maintenance facility.
Yeah, you drive down the road and it's on your left, the dog park's on the right.
If you drive down the golf, if you turn right from Five Oaks to the golf maintenance facility, the new dog park is on the right and the parcel is on the left.
Yeah.
If you're passing on Five Oaks, the golf maintenance facility, the dog park is before the golf maintenance facility road, and this parcel is right after the golf maintenance facility road.
Sounds great.
And it is higher and drier, right? Than
And it's
the
larger.
dog.
It's larger in terms of higher ground, because that pad down by Buck Lake slopes off. Plus, there would be a dumpster out in the middle of a very nice natural area that would be pretty unsightly.
Oh, you would.
All right, so here's the
So
property.
here's the phone.
So, the road and really like 3 times the width of the road looks like is the parcel that Golf Preserve owns. We own this whole property here, but there's this telephone easement in this corner here, so we wouldn't be able to build over that corner, but that's like 100 feet of width here and probably 70, 80 feet of depth. If there's any trees, it's not very many. And, we could have this more, area behind the building that would be, even further out of sight.
The required setbacks, as I recall, are pretty minimal. For a community maintenance.
I mean, we've got a sidewalk that's, going right there, so.
Yeah, but you can have a curb cut through,
No, I understand, just trying to.
Yeah.
Visualize all this, if we were talking about, it'd be helpful to maybe have some kind of floor plan of what. How much office space, how much storage space we need to have, whether that's including the truck or not, the other vehicles.
Yeah, that's the only.
Fencing it in, I don't think you need a truck.
Well, the concern I have is that we have. Although for a 500 square foot building, we're only obligated by the county to have 1 parking space. We really need
There's street parking there.
at least 5.
Is there?
There's
No.
I don't think so, no, so we're going to dog park, just pull down the golf road.
We're gonna need at least 5 or 6 parking spaces for staff members' cars.
Mhm.
And the 2 trucks.
And planning it out, I mean, not trying to get too much in the weeds here, but that room or that area that's kind of down toward this corner here that seems to be a good fit for that. Or maybe the building is kind of along the side here and then just, 5 or 6 parking slots, kind of nosing into the building. But I mean, what's a parking space,
Well, be careful, it's,
I know, and it has to be able to turn in. If they're angled and everything, they can.
Exactly. That's what we have an
That's the type of-
engineer for.
I was gonna say, this is.
Do you think that it would be feasible on a parcel that size to have several parking spots, a driveway in, the building the size we're talking, or even a little larger?
Or just copy pieces and put them in the salad boards.
Yeah.
David, will the county require us to do any stormwater retention work for this?
Yeah, because it's moving for this area.
So you're gonna lose some of that
We can
developable
just
area.
that, both near pond, adjacent to the woods.
And we could maybe have a pervious surface for parking.
Yeah, the whole state and where they.
So at least
Make
that,
a future push to CBD meetings, what additional parking.
I wish.
He knows too well.
Well, yeah, and we can make hard clothes and everything.
Got down my chest.
So at this point, okay, strategically, because we were hoping to be ready to go in for site plan submission like right away. Now we're backing up.
Well, we
So-
didn't really do anything on Buck Lake except for get these quotes, right?
Building that was based on the existing
Yeah.
Massage the site
Oh.
plan
for,
and,
Oh,
for storage only and then stopped because we didn't have.
Right.
office. Is that correct?
But no,
And we got plans that we raised into the county, so.
the thing is we got.
oh, you sent them to the county?
with
No, I held off on this.
Oh.
Issues clearing.
I see.
your plans are storage and.
My plans are storage only, but I told Greg to stop because I cut hearing conflict information on Jason's
Okay.
permanent office besides an RV trailer.
So the reason we were able to get so far so fast and would be able to leave this meeting and go ahead and put the final touches on the site plan and get it in is because there's a pre-existing pervious surface that it would be landing on. There's already parking there. You know, there are, what, 12 or 14 parking spaces right there, so we wouldn't have to do any paving for parking or any parking design. No stormwater permits would be required. And we already have the ingress and egress. So that, again, that was one of the attractive things about that.
I think those costs, which are probably going to amount to, my guess is $30,000 or $40,000. The trade-off for the $30,000 or $40,000 versus a location that is fairly central in the community and not going to affect the look of that Buck Lake Park. And it's not going to have a negative effect on residents' views. I think it's a good trade-off. Personally, that's just my opinion.
And this is when I wish that we could get input from the community to see what people for. Because if we do it and have to raise the fees,
Yeah,
Right.
again,
I,
I think where we were hopefully looking at, you know, what, 19,000 for the building installed. And another 11,000 for the fencing with the screen, that would be with 30,000. Then you need at least 10,000 for the electric, getting that all worked and hooked up, even though it's right there, it's still. You're high, 19,000.
Permitting fees and all that.
Yeah.
You need a landscaping.
So we're talking about. About, probably the high side, 50,000 down at the lakefront. Here,
It's
you're
going to
gonna
be more.
talk a lot more, you're talking 100,000 plus, is my guess. Yes.
So you're thinking an extra 50,000, but my guess is
well, and
Yeah,
that,
they're gonna price come.
yeah, and that best case guess is for the lakefront is assuming that we are able to fit exactly within that pad, that we don't need any kind of earthworks. you know,
Right, that's the whole attract, and that's what we were looking for, is someplace that you could land it. Very economic.
Mhm.
So
the point being,
questions to the board.
but the point being now, do we want to take the cheaper alternative? Which, I mean, this is more affordable, but if looking to the future, having the maintenance building in its own site, a dedicated site that's just for that. And then because who knows what else someone might want to put at the lakefront someday. And with that building there, it's going to restrict future, let's say someone wants to put in another basketball court or pickleball court. I mean, you know, there's just so many things that the rest of that could be used for if somebody.
And it's not
wanted
just
to.
that. There are a number of events that get held at Buck Lake, and that parking area where the pad is now is used for overflow parking a lot, especially when there are events, and it flows out into the street. And so if we have the community maintenance facility there, then we lose that overflow parking.
Well, we'll just say put 5 spots and put a sign, no parking 9 to 5 or whatever their hours are.
Well, but it's often on weekend days. Like some of those events are on weekend days.
Especially with us having somewhere else. I mean, I don't see that as a big issue as well. We could overcome it.
But the question now, so we can move on, if we got other things we need to take care of, is. Where does the board want to go forward?
Why not? I think we've said most of it. The only other thing I haven't heard is as far as it being a central location and wear and tear on our, gators or what they're called, the vehicles and everything. Lakefront is close to the boats right there, but everything else, especially anything on the, newer neighborhoods, and you have to drive that entire length every time versus this is fairly close to where we are now is going to be a similar. I don't think we're going to be greatly increasing wear and tear on our vehicles if we're having to drive from this one end here all the way around for our regular maintenance versus having something more centrally located. So,
We haven't heard from Lucas.
Yeah, I've been listening to everything. I think Dan hit on the head. I think we're over by the dog park, it's gonna be a way less conspicuous area. I think most of the residents will be a lot more for it compared to the Buck Lake location. I think that's gonna really ruin kind of the open environment there that we have in Harmony if we put that there, and probably be a lot of issues with parking and back and forth with the maintenance folks.
Lucas, we're gonna be looking to you to broach this with the water side community. Right? So, at this point, we need to make a decision of what to move forward on, because we don't want to be wasting engineering time on one parcel if we want to put to another one.
Move to approve. Yeah.
I want it to be very, very clear with our direction of where we are going from right now. Okay, I'm ready.
Move to approve that we have our engineer readjust the site plan for this parcel. What's the,
PD20.
What is it?
it's gonna be long.
20, track D.
Track D?
Yep. Part track D, it's there's property address. Not property address on it.
Do you need the property tax ID?
Nope. Engineer to adjust site plan to adhere to track D. With what?
When you say with what?
What do you want on it?
What do you want on it? If you're doing?
For the golf maintenance facility, including, I'm sorry, not community maintenance facility, sorry.
And office.
And with an office and pervious parking,
With office and.
pervious parking.
And a fence as well.
Well, yeah, that's part of
What
it.
are the towns-
All the fixings.
Yeah, all the fixings.
Town doesn't require a fence, but I'm with 95 and then have security.
All county.
Am I changing anything with building size?
We need to.
Well, I don't, yeah, that's a
I-
question, because if it depends on, I mean, we were going with 25 by 45 because that was the size of the pad, but
It's just a
If-
2 roll door building, you're gonna put the office in now, so you're gonna lose some of the square footage for inside storage.
But we have.
The lean to, do you want it? Do you not want it? Do we need it? Do we not? I don't, I'm gonna look to you for that.
Well, I
Stuff
think
you
we should go with as big a building as we can put, because we don't know what our future needs will
Well-
be. And it's not that much more expensive to add, or to be a little bit
I think
bigger.
the other thing with the lean to and outside storage is we wanna make sure we take like Brad's chemicals. They should not be stored inside.
Oh, okay.
gasoline.
Gasoline, we should have a gas cabinet outside that in case, it's a fire flame.
Yeah,
have it, that's still outside, so the lean-to, I think is still.
I think we need to lean on you guys to let us know what size office you need. And I think, I mean, I would say make your maintenance area as big as possible and try to minimize the office space as much as you can.
Yeah, the office space probably doesn't need to be any more than
10 by
10
10.
by 10.
Question for David, does our building size need have any impact on your remaining work for site planning? Or is it all out the window with it being a new location? Like, is your site plan based roughly around 45 by 20?
Triangular piece, throw in the setbacks. And then back into what we can squeeze in there, so.
Okay,
So then
so
I can wait till David tells me here's how much room we got to work with square footage wise. And
Then
if
we
that
really
building
can.
fits, then
We really can have CDD meetings there.
you could put it.
Well, that's what I'm
You could
saying.
put a conference room.
Just kidding.
I mean,
Just kidding.
I'll sit on the Polaris, you can sit on the connector, you can sit on the art.
All right.
it's not a bad idea though.
No, I know. I mean, I'm all for building.
Conference room with a table and a TV that you
Yeah.
can put on the wall with Zoom. It's-
Yeah, but that room, I mean, look at this space, right? We would need something, I mean, 20 by 20 alone, just for at least for a meeting. space.
Yeah.
that might be torpedoed with, parking spaces,
Exactly.
fire.
Yeah.
Now it's a public space versus
Right.
an open space.
On the Street, yeah.
Yeah, it brings in all sorts.
So I will say though, I mean, I know it's not, not frowned upon, but parking on side of the road where you have the white lines is always an option. I mean, I know that causes issues with traffic, but it's technically legal, right?
Well,
No, not where
that's
there's
a bike
bicycle
lane,
lanes.
Not a parking lane, so no, everyone would get tickets.
Okay, my bad.
I mean, if it was like further down where the parking was, that would be fine, but
There's no parking
Right.
lane there. There's only a bicycle lane.
yeah. That was one of the things when we put in the dog park, we had to assure them that the county that it was a walk to dog park because there was no parking.
Okay.
Okay.
This entire parcel here.
Yeah, I was thinking of the other white lines close by the other streets.
He's going to get you out.
I didn't.
You can use the dog park as your parking lot.
Oh, I was just thinking those people are gonna start parking in the.
This entire parcel here.
What we have is, motion to approve engineer to adjust the site plan.
Oh, it started, yeah, started new site.
Conceptual, conceptual. And I'll get with Brett and Jason on minimum dimensions for the maintenance in the office, because I gotta start somewhere. You tell me how many parking lots we need minimum, we can kind of squeeze it into there.
So conceptual site plan for track D, community maintenance facility with office and pervious parking with all county requirements. Office doesn't need to be any bigger than a 10 by 10. That's what I have so far.
And can I?
If I will allow the amendment.
Yes, if you. Amendment, can we also go ahead and once it's finished? Do at least the cursory sit down with the county, what is it called, David, before you pay the fees and stuff?
Like a pre-application.
Pre-application. Is that okay? Because I think we're gonna need to do at least that much
To get the temperature.
right away to get them to give us more time. Where we are.
Who goes to that meeting?
I can. You
Our
can.
engineer would and.
Oh,
one of us.
okay.
I don't know that one of us. David, do you need one of us to muddy the water for me?
I need to lean on somebody if this goes off the tracks. No.
All right, so that's what I have as a motion with the pre-application meeting, by the engine, with the engineering county.
We officially call this now.
Community maintenance facility,
Got it. I already have that.
CMF, HCMF.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I forgot the age.
Carol has the motion.
With those amendments, I'll second.
And I have a motion and a second. Do I hear any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, hearing none, motion passes.
That's a tornado warning.
What?
No, it's not. It's a tornado warning.
Okay, so.
Oh, it's a tornado.
Yes.
I almost came on my golf cart. I'm glad I did that.
So evidently our field, there's one other thing in fields, although we have blended the district engineers. I wanted to bring up a question about benches. We had, I think it was 2 or more meetings ago. We moved to have benches put in, one here in the lakes. And one over near Long Pond is what I call it.
Right, Benchmark was gonna,
Yeah, we gotta get the benches.
So is that moving forward?
Yeah, benchmark's already confirmed again. We just gotta get benches ordered.
Oh.
So they're doing 1 or 2.
One.
I also have a request. From the folks that, as you notice, the basketball court is getting phenomenal use. The one little bench that they have adjoining the basketball court is always in the sun, no matter what time of day. And definitely during the height of the evening when they play. And they really have no benches in the shade. There's surrounding benches over the picnic pavilion, but that's frequently in use by someone. So they had requested 1 or 2 benches to be placed in the shade there, closer to the basketball court.
But those don't have to be as nice as the ones
No,
that are
they-
on the road.
No, they should. We want them to look more like basketball benches, court benches.
So aluminum
Right, so,
gymnasium style bench.
and I'm wondering if we can get an inexpensive trash can there, because they can't seem to move their empty bottles from the side of the court to the other side of the pavilion where there's a trash can, or up by the road, which is only like 40 feet to the trash can there.
Go up there with a whip every Tuesday.
But you don't want riser benches. You want just single flat bench, or do you want like a 3? Like almost like stands, aluminum stands, like you have at the soccer field.
with the soccer field, if we could get it, it doesn't need to be that big, but. If depending on the expense.
What's the cost? Yeah.
Yeah, if it's cheaper to get those kind of small free riser, let's put that in for them. If it's cheaper to just get 2 aluminum benches to put in.
Free riser or 2. 1.
I mean, it would be nice to just take the soccer one and move it down because no one uses it at the soccer.
No, they do sometimes.
No, all those parents sit on the other side in the shade. We don't want to go out and sit in the sun because again, that riser's out in the sun.
The only I would say when they have like some of the really small kids and they have the leagues there and they'd have like half of the field being used or something, is the only time I can remember that far set of rivals being.
Yeah, and that's been what, years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, this tornado warning is just north of us here. I mean, all our phones went off, but we're.
Mine didn't.
No, me.
Mine didn't either.
Oh,
Mine
now it just did.
Spoke too soon.
I had a turkey phone on.
Yeah, it's.
We have to go north.
Oh, I turned on the weather app. I heard that, because mine.
Where are you going?
I gusty winds at this point.
Ah, stop.
Mr. District Engineer, or does anyone else, I'm sorry, any of the other supervisors have anything for field? Oh, and I didn't take a formal vote on the benches to. You know, that in this particular.
Stop.
So.
Proposals for either a 3 riser or 2 just aluminum benches.
How about a not to exceed?
We don't even, we have no idea. I think it's probably within the,
Within their budget.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was thinking.
But to actually put in a new facility. I'll make a motion that we put in some seating areas under in the shaded area in the area that's shaded during the afternoon and evening. Near the basketball courts, either aluminum benches or a small free riser. Whichever is cheaper. So that's my motion. Do I hear that?
second.
I have a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
6'1" with a bank is $362. I mean, that's just on
We're
some
fine.
website.
Yep, I think I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, David.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll stay here. Do I need to stay? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna get out.
We
No,
okay.
Okay.
Say something.
So, you know what?
Karma.
Man, that's heading east over.
It's
right?
going east, yes. It's this, the warning is this area. I mean,
Where are you headed then? No, that's the opposite direction.
Yeah.
That's south.
I'm going east. I'll take the
It's all
thought.
moving for you. No, I would have said something.
All right, do we still have our Zoom folks on?
Yeah.
Is here with us?
Yeah, I just,
I don't want to lose.
If I-
Or any of our participants.
All right, so I don't need to revisit the community maintenance facility since that's now
Yes, Harmony.
Harmony.
can you make a nice logo?
All right, I only have two things in mind. One will be lengthy possibly. Billy's Trail. Dan, I gave you a couple emails. If you're okay with the alignments, I need to get a few survey things located and we'll finalize the plans.
Right.
So, okay, quick and dirty.
Question there.
We still don't have, so we have plans, but we don't have estimates on.
Well, the plans are, as far as I can take it, Greg needs to have a few things located by the surveyor, primarily the trees at the north end, because after we walked it, we decided to take a different route than we envisioned a year ago. So I do need to locate a few things. It won't be a lot, but I do need to have some supplemental survey to be done. But the plans otherwise are teed up and ready to go. I just need to get the survey out there quickly.
Do
So
we have any thoughts about ballpark ranges on cost?
I haven't given to PJ yet. Yep. So
And that's just the one culvert or two?
two,
culverts?
the one at the north end and the one by the wetland.
So, yeah, so I had a question because there were two sets of 3 question marks at the end near the Billy's Trail property. Property. In the documentation that was sent to the board. It was on the last page that you received.
Turn on a second.
I wondered what those question marks were about. Yes, those question marks right there below your thumb to the, yes. Those question, are they
That's,
question
yeah,
marks?
that's the trees that we want to meander through.
Oh,
So that's where I need to locate the bigger trees. The little ones are just gonna clear and put the path through it. So
and then I didn't see where there's supposed to be a culvert that links the end of the trail to Billy's Trail proper.
because we have to also survey a ditch. So we know what to plop in there.
I'm
So
sorry, have to what?
survey the ditch that's along the
Oh.
existing.
I see.
That's,
So this is. Where's Billy's Trail?
This is the original Billy's Trail, or what we're gonna tie into.
Okay. Okay, I was confused. Another drawing had our parcel just touching the tip to Billy's Trail.
I'll pull that up here.
Where was the other?
And that is the case.
Well, I guess my question is. Yeah, like. So. When I look at this, and this is Billy's Trail, but our parcel. Just touches just by the corner, so. Can we really?
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about, putting a culvert in here where there's a ditch.
But,
to join this trail to Billy's Trail.
No, this easement is not the trail. This is
Okay.
a separate
This
easement.
is
The
the-
trail is off of our property here.
okay.
It's
that's
the
what-
alignment of that easement, but it comes straight in, so it is fully facing our property. The ditch is along the side of the trail and really doesn't run anywhere.
Okay.
So it's
I know,
more.
it's really a dead end ditch.
But don't we
But-
have to, from the end of our property, create a culvert to
Get over
and
the
cover
ditch.
it over the
Right, to
ditch?
maintain drainage from those houses back there, yeah.
But are
No,
we
to
gonna-
access the trail.
Well, yeah, there's a swale that runs behind these houses that dump
Right.
in the ditch. We're gonna go over the ditch with a pipe. So you can jump on the current
Trail.
older trail.
Yeah.
Yep.
But all the work we're doing and the culvert and everything are going to remain on our property.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
that's what I want to
Yep.
be sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that other easement is. Oh, there's water main apparently.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there a water main that runs under?
and the current Billy's Trail heading into the woods.
Yeah.
Is that a really old water main?
That I don't know.
I don't remember that easement being there, right?
It may have been put in way before, like when they built the spoil pile roads. maybe.
All right.
All right, the big one, maybe, C1, C2 alleyways.
We have a. Or have they started monitoring the work at all?
The inspection.
Yeah, we've had the inspector out there. I got his daily reports. I will give to Angel to give to the board. We,
Here comes the hail.
Just promise us that it's all going smoothly.
I have a couple of requests, however you wanted to simulate this. When they mill and resurface, it makes a dusty mess. So however you want to put that out there, I don't want a ton of social media posts saying whether they do. It's when you mill up the old asphalt, it just makes a complete and utter dust storm. So that's number one. Number two, I didn't appreciate Mr. Mike Lewis with a Waste Management saying, I'm not responsible for the curb and gutters. Now, the alleyway is 14 feet wide. The average garbage truck is 8 feet wide. I can't tell their guys how to drive up there. We're going to continue to run over our new curb and gutters. They will break. Garbage trucks are the most destructive trucks on public rights of way. They break curb and gutter, sidewalks, inlet tops. And so I didn't appreciate that little social post. So if his guys can keep his trucks on the asphalt, the curb and gutters will, on the ribbon curbs will be fine.
Is
Just-
there anything we can do to protect that investment?
Bollards.
Well, and that's another option. We have that on the Cup Seat Alley after. You know, we can have the nice ribbon curves and then right on the corner. A little bit that's left, and the property owners are usually really willing to cooperate. We put some large boulders. And that really
That does work.
Work.
Because they're high enough to hit the bumper of the car or the
truck.
or the truck. So
Maybe
And
winter
they
time.
live too, and it doesn't, I mean, boulders cost. But they don't. You know, wear and tear on them is minimal, upkeep is non-existent,
More aesthetically pleasing than.
and they're really.
Than a
nice
bollard.
looking.
Right.
And the ballers.
Yeah.
So that's something we can think about. The other option is we did not have this problem when the county waste management was using the smaller trucks. And the only other thing would be to start asking the county to step up and to force them to use smaller trucks.
they call it a residential truck. I used to work on one, so they're a lot smaller and
And they would put less wear and tear on new alleyways and the existing alleyways that we currently have. They require a little more manpower, but they don't have to do double duty. Right now, those huge trucks are having to go down every alleyway twice because they don't. And it's just ridiculous wear and tear on. So that's the other alternative. I mean, maybe they'll get the message if we just put the big boulders out and I don't know.
So should we get some information on boulders? Then?
I will tell you, you probably should do something because we had conversations with this gentleman. Because he inserted himself everywhere. And actually had a conversation with his boss also, and they have no intentions of changing anything that they're doing. And essentially said that, I think he was one of the ones out there measuring the curbs and saying they weren't done accurately, and the trucks are gonna mess them up, because they weren't done properly, which is complete and utter not true. So they don't have any intentions of changing, so you might wanna try something.
So let's do that. Let's go ahead and get, we have a place that has those large boulders right here.
On Canoe Creek, right?
Yes.
Evers?
Yes.
Evers Wood Products.
Yeah. And they.
So let's get some pricing from Evers Wood Products. We would need to know. I know that the one you're talking about on Cup Seed is 2 sizable boulders right at the corner there. So I
And then there's the homeowners put some nice plants.
Yeah,
down and
but
they have
they-
flowers.
not anymore.
What is the place you recommended?
Evers.
Evers Wood Products.
So we can go ahead and look at doing that. The other thing that really keeps the garbage trucks at bay, on the other side of that same curb, the mailbox happens to be located right where that truck takes the turn. I don't really want to put anybody's mailbox at risk, so hopefully the boulders will be the best bet to set out there.
And we'd need a count. In terms of how many.
Yeah, how many locations and. So.
I thank you for accepting or being open for that, because, yep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened.
No, it's, listen, it ain't the first time and it won't be the last.
Besides about reminding people that there's gonna be a lot of dust. And also,
Yes.
mention that
Yeah, so David, if you could just on your way out, I already have something ready to go with May 1st to 5th. If there's anything else we want to put on, just the front page.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say there's gonna be an extreme amount of dust or something, just be aware
about
that.
the irrigation,
is always
people,
dust.
if they'd go out and check the irrigation, and then they wouldn't get surprised with the big bills.
Yeah,
I
well,
can just hurry
also, yeah, just make a note that they need, if they do have any damage, the sod will be repaired, but if they have any damage to their irrigation system, please contact
Email
CDD
us.
maintenance.
I will-
They got that.
last thing and I'm done.
Whenever they're going out to get quotes for these boulders, where are they looking to put them on the corner of every alleyway?
Well,
Both
at least at both ends and a couple in the middle. But I would say a minimum of 4 for each corner. That's,
for each.
and how much these cost, but you
Are
gotta think.
they ends or just where we have like a T intersection?
I don't know when they start to come off the pavement to do the damage, but
The problem is right there, I wish we could put them, but that's where we have our sidewalk and our ADA ramps and stuff. I would like to put them there, but I think the boulders would probably interfere.
they don't have to be exactly where the ribbon curb starts, but at least to who's ever approaching that curve. That's what I'm, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't want an obstacle for the, you
Yeah,
know.
so for-
And the teats that you're talking about.
Right, they're
Uh,
curves.
in mine, Dan and Cherry's house on the corner, they make a turn there and they're gonna need some on there. And they may also come around this way, so they're gonna need some on the CDD property, and the same with the opposite corner, because that alleyway has 2 entrances.
Mhm.
And so gonna need some on that people's property, and then also on this side of the CDD.
Because I
corner.
think there are several ribbon.
Yeah,
Number.
Last thing, and
and
I'm,
there's the trench drain, which is right on the edge of the alley. And I can imagine them driving over that, just cracking.
yeah, and I know they made a request. The contractor did not to put that in. But I've been out there enough times, that area is always wet next to the park, and I didn't want to. Mill and resurface, and we have some chronic ponding again, so I know the contractor said, you sure you want to put it there? But, once they pull up the side and they're done, it's kind of difficult to get back out again, so.
So I don't know what, if anything, we can do to protect that trench drain because it's
Extra.
very exposed. That's a good idea.
To,
No, but is there anything that we can do? Because people are gonna drive on it and trucks are gonna.
You can put a boulder at both ends, so they make an effort to go around. Again, these roads are 14 feet wide. There's plenty of running around it. So if you put something in both ends, nobody's gonna be driving out 45 miles an hour and be a safety issue, so. Last thing is I got a pay request today for number one. We are checking the quantities, Angel, before I have them submit to you directly. First pay request for the C1, C2 project.
okay.
They came in today. Greg's gonna check the quantities before we have them submit officially to you with a signed copy, but
So basically, if I get it from you, it's signed off on.
yeah,
right?
Greg signed off on it and they'll actually sign and date it, so look, it's official, so. And then I can keep all the inspection reports till the end or feed them to you as I get them from the inspector. It's up to you guys how you want.
Well, what's the news?
He takes pictures and daily notes where they're working, you know, one day he says they're pouring concrete a certain area. Another day they're milling, or not milling, they're opening up the trench drain to be installed. I mean, nothing,
But we're asking him to not just report on what they're doing, but on whether they're doing it well and right.
they're doing it right. They're doing it right. I mean, some of the forms that somebody measured is a car went over it and it whacked them out. They put it back in place. And I had the inspector go out there and the contractor, and they measured 6 inches wide in numerous places. And they pulled the dirt back and they measured 8 inches deep. So I'm good. I know we're good. So. All right.
All right.
Since we spent so much time in Jason's new office, I'm done. So.
Watch your head. If you can.
Yes, watch your head.
David,
Pardon?
it's all accurate.
Okay. District council report.
That's the old.
Michael Eckert.
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to start my video here. Hi, everybody can see me okay and hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hi there. So just one thing, let you know that it does look like the 4 hours of mandatory ethics training for all special district board members. That still is moving through the process, at least the last time I checked earlier this week. So once that goes into place, assuming that it passes this year, we'll get with the board and find the least painful way for you to satisfy that ethics training. Currently, city council people and county commissioners do that through an online program. And then sometimes their actual attorneys will give them that training as well if they can get approved for it. So just wanted to let you know that that is out there. The other thing I would just report on is the activity level for us has really dropped off, which is a great thing. And just wanted to report that to the board. And if there's any questions the board has, I'm happy to answer them.
The one question I had, in your write-up that you did for the board.
Yes.
Us, a different flat fee schedule, but I wasn't sure if those two flat fees were one for the in-person and one for the Zoom, if those included basically all work except for litigation and like bond.
Yeah, it would be the same carve outs that we had in the original agreement. So it would be litigation or anything that's not expected. So if you said we want to go out and buy another piece of property and we want you to represent us in buying that piece of property, then that would be something that would be extra. Just given the reduced level of activity, I'm not so sure that you guys want to make any changes right now, but certainly I'm happy to evaluate that with the board at any time.
Well, we are, this financial statement ending March 31st. So that's the first 6 months of the fiscal year, half the fiscal year. And what we spent on legal fees, and I'm not sure, I actually did have a question about this. We have, so we're budgeted for 60,000 and the first 6 months we spent 56,000. But I didn't know whether that includes that 13,000 that was gonna be returned to us or not.
You won't see that credit back on until your May financial.
But so in other words, this 56 should actually be 43.
If we're just talking about that deduction, but I don't know, correct.
Yeah, but their invoice for this month was. Sorry, I don't have it right here.
It was about 10,000.
Yeah, so we're already,
But that included I think that included 2 months meetings, if I'm not mistaken. When I went back.
it may, but it's still only half our fiscal year,
Yes.
and we are at this point close to
Yeah, right in the name.
exactly on this particular line item. So I am all for minimizing our expenses as much as possible, so we don't end up
Well, I think
spending.
we resolved a lot of the
Yeah.
things that we had going on. There was the property,
Well, there was the Ruby issue.
right, and all of that,
And falls with using
The easement stuff.
the records, and then there was stuff with the RV lot that cost quite a bit.
You know, that's what he's talking about now, all that stuff,
Yeah.
you got through all your hot issues, now
Right.
his stuff starting to taper off to just normal.
Right, so I think I don't think we need to. I'm not.
So we'll see how it goes the
Yeah.
next couple of months and where we're at.
I think we've settled down to a dull roar, is what I'm trying to
Well,
say.
we probably, it would probably be. I don't know. What do you think about possibly? Not contact or anything, but just. A quick glance over our straight line fencing contract. To see about the $8,800 they've been holding for the last 4 years, if there's any hope.
How long ago has it been? You said 4 years, but is it beyond 5 years from when the contract would have been made?
No, it's within that 5 years.
Okay, and is there a written agreement or is it an oral agreement?
It's a written agreement.
If it's a written agreement, I'd be happy to take a look at it. I think that would make sense.
Okay. Yeah, just take a quick look and see if there's any way that we might be able to at least get a little of that money back. I am not sure why this board. Did not immediately turn around when they couldn't get a fencing permit and demand that deposit back, but. Be it as it may, that's what I'm. But if we can hold his feet to the fire, or at least get him to give us a significant discount on any future fencing needs, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I understand if the district's gonna be doing additional work in the future. Sometimes a credit's either easier to get than cash, so certainly worth looking at.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the other supervisors have anything for?
Not this time.
Okay, at that point, thank you so much, Mike. We'll move on to the district manager's report.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something like you needed to say? I think you just said, okay. Freeze.
Blinking.
I only have 2 things. I did get an update. I answered the questions that the board had regarding campus suite. The email is in your agenda behind the proposal, answered the questions. If that's something you want to move forward with, great. If you don't, Dan can keep doing it and everybody's right in the world.
So Dan, you saw that a resident had sent an email about.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, I mean, that was a legitimate issue. It's not something I'd seen before, but in their whatever sales flyer they sent, there's something got messed up with it. I'm not sure if it's happened on their end or our end when we were playing.
It's been more than just with campus suite. There's other things, if you've noticed in past agendas. We compress the files because your agendas are so large, just with the minutes alone, that we have to compress those agendas in order to get them out to you, or we have to send them all retransfer. So when they compress them, sometimes images and different things get compressed that you don't get to see those. And the email that came out was, let alone very inaccurate. and didn't have even the proper information in it. But that was not on Campus Suites, and that was because of compression of the agenda, and it's happened on more than one occasion.
So what if we were to, is it possible to put the agenda on Dropbox for our access, or just, to access it on Dropbox?
Well,
And then send a link to us for the Dropbox file for the agenda so that we can.
No, what we would do is send a WeTransfer, and then you could download it on your own.
They've been coming through pretty good now that we've moved over to Microsoft.
Teresa didn't have a problem with hers. She let it sit. It came through very clear.
So my question for you, Dan, was more about the concerns this resident had with what Campus Suite is offering and whether it has value.
To me, the value is, the issues I see are one, it's somewhat time, and I'm happy tabling this if we're already at, 8:30 if we want to. Just real quick, it's, would be saving me the time in doing the manual updates each month, putting the new minutes and agendas and everything. We'd be buying just a refresh of the website. Like right now, it's not very usable on the phone.
It's not user friendly at all.
Right, so it would be more in line and, it's more accessible in that way, and it'd be taking me out of the loop of, needing to do the OCR and the upload and edit the page and all that. They'd be handling all that. Not super expensive. It's just.
How much time does it take you on average?
Well, if it's something short, like I just did the front page updates here during the meeting, but if it's like, especially like when the fiscal year rolls around, you have to change, every page that has,
Yeah,
in hours, not, days of work, but.
good hours, still, you already have a figure.
Right.
the job,
Yeah,
You're on the board.
Right, and there's like, I've talked to other residents, about other things, there's only so much time I can, put the CDD in. This would free that up.
Right.
Doing
Essentially,
the job better.
there's not a huge,
We're not in violation right now. We
Correct.
could stay the course.
you're not in violation. The only thing this is gonna do is obviously free up Mr. Lee, and when we email something to be posted, it's automatic. It gets posted
I-
immediately.
Yeah, I need to ask a question about that. A
Okay.
couple of quick things. One, as I was reading it, it says there's a 48-hour turnaround for posting agendas. Is that gonna work for us?
We've never had it in 48 hours. I can show you any report we sent.
Okay, but I just, if
It
it's
wasn't.
saying it's gonna take,
Yeah,
or
I
it
didn't
could
see that in
potentially
there.
take 48 hours.
Yep.
We just need to make sure that that's not gonna be the case, because right now we need, what, about an hour around or less to get the agendas up. So just a caution there to make sure that that's there.
And if it's still Infomark doing the preparation, if there's still this compression issue, then, it would still need to be addressed one way or the other, I guess, getting a very large file to them.
We've
and-
never had an issue with them coming back, and with this, the onus is on them. Essentially, they keep your website up to date, current with ADA compliance, they provide quarterly reporting. So if something wasn't in compliance, that's on them, not on the district. So
There's a 1,500 page limit for onboarding, remediation. Is all of our stuff is ADA compliant now, so there shouldn't be any remediation, right?
Yeah, I brought that up. I don't know if that can, we get consideration for that, and that we expect the onboarding as the design of the site and everything, but they don't need to scrub all our, 7 years of minutes
Yeah.
because, Farnsworth and I have already done that.
Yeah, they'll probably want to look over them. I just want to make sure that there's no chance we're gonna meet or exceed this 1,500 pages.
Okay.
Probably not.
We-
As long as we could exceed it if they are going to basically say anything that comes across, even though it doesn't need remediation because they're touching it, is one of the 1,500 pages, right? So we just need that clarified.
Because, our position is that everything that's on there right now is screen readable, ADA compliant. So it does not, the only thing that need to be scrubbed would be their new design, and then going forward, anything that we sent to them.
Mhm. Okay, so just that we just to be sure of. Their email states unlimited page provision and cost and. But I only saw unlimited remediation, not post. Page 211 states PDF documents cost $1.05 to $1.75 a page. To post. So again, just is we
There's
need to,
unlimited posting, what they used to have, which they've taken off probably in the last 6 months. Prior to when this first started, they allowed 750 pages annually to be posted to your agenda or to your website for free. That's when a lot of the districts we're not expending that extra money, so we just want the agenda page posted, not the full package. In the last 6 months, they have done away with that, and it was like $1.05 or something per page, over 750 annually. They've done away with that, and it's unlimited.
okay, that we just need to be, I just want to be sure because it's still in the documents that are involved.
But it was, the clarification
It's
wasn't something we
clarified,
had. Cause I knew that it's unlimited now. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be looking at them because
Correct.
you went through this with us before.
Yeah, no, that was clear last month.
Yeah, I just want to be sure. that
Yeah.
there's no-
And so if I've got
Yeah.
this right, it's gonna cost 3,000 for the first year because we have the $1,500 to get it up and going, 1,500. Excuse me, and then it's approximately 1,500 a year going
Correct.
forward.
Correct.
So we're looking like $120 a month.
They charge you just one time annually.
I know, but I
But
meant
yeah,
if.
no, you're
Yeah,
right.
it's an
budget-wise,
average, yeah.
You know.
Dan,
Um,
I want to know from you, I'm sorry. for
Yeah, no,
interrupting.
that's exactly.
I want to
what
know
was
from
gonna say
you
next is-
whether you feel this is a good proposal, a good investment, the company is trustworthy in doing what they promised to do.
I'd like to table it for one more month. Just
Okay.
Look at it a little more.
Okay.
It's, again, it's not urgent. If we're gonna do anything, having it
Yeah.
in place before the fiscal year would be, a big thing for me, but.
And if, the other thing to keep in mind is if we do pay for 1 year and we don't like them, we don't have to get them back the following year.
All right, so I can take this off of the agenda.
Put it
Well,
on
if we're
next
tabling
month.
it, yeah,
Put it on next month's agenda.
to be done with it. I promise.
Oh, no, it doesn't bother me. All I do is either send it to you or send it to Campus Suite. Yeah.
But we are getting our provision, our first cut in budget, and it will be going out next week or so, or 2 weeks. But let's go ahead, and we'll pencil this in as.
I think you may already have, I
And
think you might have like 3,000 in there.
Okay.
Now for a couple of different, for different things that you would be able to absorb.
Okay,
This.
but I want to be sure, I mean, it's pretty small. Considering what we deal with. That's
The other thing I was-
But I want to be sure it's there if we decide to do it.
If you have any additional questions, if you'll email them to
I
me,
will.
I can email them to him and at least get you the answers before your next meeting.
And then when, the large agenda package, you could just give us, if the compression thing is gonna continue as a problem, which it. We didn't need the whole brochure for the
Awning.
awning. You could have just give us a link. I mean, if it was an issue, just give us a link and we can go to the website and view those things too. That might solve the issue.
I think my plans are a lot, so they're different ways, because the plans I give you are.
Yeah, but the color brochures, that's a
They go on
lot.
ledger side.
And that's typically what happens.
Right.
It's the stuff that's colored and
Yeah,
large.
and most of that is, they're trying to sell us something, so you look at it with, all right.
So the last thing I have, and really quick, and it's super simple, is the budget process. We're finalizing some numbers now, putting it in. I'll be able to have that out to you all next week to review. And then it will be put into your May agenda. Well, it's gonna go into your workshop agenda because we have a workshop at 4, the day of your meeting. And then we'll go right into the meeting at 6 o'clock,
4:30.
4:30, whatever it says.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it says on there is accurate.
4:30.
Yes. So
Yeah.
4:30 is the workshop.
May
and then-
25th.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mhm.
same day as the next meeting.
Correct. And then we'll go into the 6 o'clock meeting. So you'll discuss the budget in the workshop, go into the meeting. And if we don't get it approved in that meeting, you will need to have a special meeting before June 14th. But again, obviously your goal is not to raise assessments. But you know, we're gonna put in realistic numbers that you all can kind of
Yeah,
go.
I
by.
mean, OUC, like we said, doubled their fuel.
Mhm,
I mean, things are going up astronomically.
right, so.
But understand the budget. We have to have that budget approved. So you guys need to, as soon as you get it. Spend some time with it because it's really serious. And get your questions and concerns and comments back to Angel as soon as possible. I apologize, I didn't catch it. I am not real comfortable with this process of having our only budget workshop within minutes of having to make a final decision. I would rather have our budget workshop the month before. And
I've already started all my budget workshops. We
please.
started them in April.
Yeah,
And y'all stuck to your same
I
meeting
don't
schedule.
like that. You know, it was fine when the budget was quasi dictated, but now that we want every supervisor to be heavily involved.
Well, one thing that would help me a lot is I'm still struggling to find out what some of these things are. And I know a lot of it is we're legally obligated to do certain things, like the invasive. You know, we really can't cut that.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we can't touch. And so it'd be helpful to me to know what those things are. So if I'm looking at the budget, I won't waste my time sitting there saying, oh, can I do something about this one?
Well, set an appointment with Angel, and she could even have somebody from the budget, you know.
I can
The
answer, yeah, I
folks.
can answer those questions for you.
And you guys can sit down and go over it line by line and get all the information, because you guys are new. You two will just, and, you know, find out about all these. So it takes a lot to understand. I was pretty familiar with it before I got on the board, but it still took me a lot once I was on the board to really get more comfortable with the budget process. I'm not totally there yet.
Well, it's very complicated. And like I said, there's a lot of ins and outs and twists and turns. So
There definitely are, especially with our bond financing and everything.
So
So
I'm gonna keep your May agenda light. So the workshop, and then you can also go into the meeting and discuss. it.
now we got the Harmony Community Maintenance Facility on the.
Woohoo.
We have-
old business,
Maybe we should just do the website tonight.
old business code enforcement, my understanding. We haven't heard any ramifications, and hopefully we will be working with them to get it further.
Do we need to do anything, notifying the county that we're, you know, moving forward with the track D and? You know,
No, they're gonna come back. The next inspection is May 10th. So we
Right.
have to have all that cleared out by May 10th.
either way,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
Well, but we're supposed to have the other two containers on too, and we won't, so it may be a good idea to reach out to them before he shows up on site. Say, we've got everything out except these two storage containers, but we can't get those out until we have a place to put the stuff. And this is what we're moving forward with. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Just because if he walks in and, you know, it's better to pre-prepare him for this.
No, I think it's easier to ask forgiveness. I
Probably
learned that
gonna
one.
Except for code
I
enforcement.
learned that.
If we're gonna leave these there, that we ask for another extension. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
what
think we
time
should.
frame is that?
Yeah, I think we should just ask him for another extension prior to him showing up on. He's still gonna want to see
He's
it.
still coming, yeah.
Also, last time I was down there, the gate to the RV storage area was not locked. And now that I think every vehicle's out right now, right? So we should go ahead and get that locked up, so.
Okay.
Supervisor's request.
Yes, I have one. I'd like and we don't have to decide tonight, but I would like the board to consider footing the cost to create, and it could be kiosks like what we have now. Signs, trailhead signs on Butterfly Trail, on our property on Butterfly Trail and Billy's Trail. That have verbiage about the length of the trail, maybe a few words about its history, and kind of guidelines. If you bring it in, take it out. Please don't leave your garbage there, and just no vehicles on the trails, and only biking and walking. And so I would like I don't think it's going to be very expensive to create, to buy those and install them. But I think that would be an asset to the community.
The kiosks on Butterfly and.
Billy's Trail heads. So they're trailhead signs
We
Okay.
have a kiosk there
on Billy's Trail.
But
We
we
have,
don't have.
but
Well,
we have a
know-
kiosk, but we don't have any content about Billy's Trail in that kiosk right now. So we'd need to make a sign there.
Can you put something together?
Yeah.
Since you-
Yeah, can you put that, can you, Angel, say that I'm gonna ask, in the notes that I need to provide some verbiage, and I'll talk with my trail people on the Harmony Nature and Animal Committee about what the verbiage should say for both trails.
Got it.
CDD property by Butterfly Trail, that would have to be on the east side that's already been, that has the sidewalk.
Post offices, I mean,
Yeah,
the post boxes,
Right, because
mailboxes.
it's just, there's the road and then there's Harmony, Florida land. CDD only has the property on the east side of the road. Where
There is absolutely no property on the, I mean, don't we own the sidewalks? Isn't there a sidewalk right there?
There's a sidewalk on the east side of the road. Okay, no, we have a ribbon, but it doesn't really go. It's under trees and all that. The area that's actually cleared out that you'd see as you're walking up the village trail is all road, county or.
Okay, so we need to find. a
Okay,
location
yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was disappointed. I was hoping there would be an offer of land over there, so we would be able to do more of this. Unfortunately not. I would request that on the next agenda, we talk about updating our reserve study. I'm not at all.
We
comfortable with
never-
pricing.
I know.
I know, but yes, my understanding was that they were going to, because they gave us numbers that were pretty crazy inflation. And we we said, hey, no, you need to give us realistic numbers. But David, I thought they were going to step up and redo
upgrade
it,
their
but-
numbers.
Who did we get those numbers from?
A company that does reserve studies.
Oh, okay.
That's all they do.
Yeah, it's Florida Reserve Study and Appraisal. So David, what did you say this to?
Yeah.
You're still what?
What did he say about updating this number? Remember?
Well, I know he said we got bids, we would share that information with them. The only bids we got in since they completed that work was Garden Road Rock. And the milling of the surface. And so,
And the front of the fence.
and the final fence, but I didn't know if their contract is open in it to be keeping themselves.
It doesn't. So I got a proposal from them and yeah. And I have to see what it actually is. So if you have, but I don't want to, we can't give them ones and twosies. Like when we get a whole collective thing, then we could essentially do that if the board approves it, but you can't just keep sending them stuff every,
Right.
Now,
So-
I do believe those three things were, I think that those were the things in the study for 23, correct?
I don't know.
I think I have to go back. We need to share that study with both Lucas
And Joe.
I don't think they've seen it. with the proviso that the numbers are much lower than we're seeing coming in. So I'm just doing that. But it will give you a feel for the magnitude
Oh.
of stuff we're responsible.
C1, C2 was going to be 22. At the same time, we're doing the study, so this is all based on that having been done.
Right.
Right.
And then for 23, I think there, yeah, there's vinyl fencing in 23 and tower painting, basketball court, and
Remember that.
Right.
But we do, understand that whatever they're proposing, if it's anything above the 5,700 for a full update,
Yeah,
that's a guaranteed price that we have to pay. So,
if the board wants to go ahead and authorize that 5,700, but again, I wouldn't do that unless David has a bulk of things to submit.
We'll revisit it next month, I guess.
yes.
Should we put his proposal on there?
Any other supervisory requests?
Move to adjourn.
You have-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'll move to adjourn with you there.
All right.
Second, he's gonna second my move.
Sorry, yeah, second.
Yeah, Carol moves. Lucas seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah.
Where's
Thanks,
the
everyone.
bar?
thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Have a good one.
Thing kept going on.